The first signal is not visual. It is acoustic. Beneath a steel-gray surface streaked with wind, low-frequency calls travel through the cold Pacific water in layered pulses that can carry for dozens of kilometers. The sound is structured, patterned, and repeated. Not random noise, but coordinated communication, moving between individuals that are spread across a hunting formation wider than a football field. A school of salmon compresses instinctively, tightening into a defensive sphere. A sea lion resting at the edge of a kelp forest lifts its head and scans the horizon. Far below, a shark adjusts course. The ocean has recognized the arrival of a force that does not simply hunt within the ecosystem, but actively reorganizes it. The orca has entered the field. An orca is not the largest predator in the sea, nor the fastest, nor the most numerous, yet it exerts disproportionate influence because of how it integrates physiology with intelligence and social cohesion. Its body is engineered for sustained pursuit and sudden acceleration, with dense musculature and a counter-shaded coloration that fractures its silhouette against light from above and darkness from below. The white eye patch is not an eye at all, but a visual deception that confuses prey about the direction of its gaze. Beneath the skin lies a thick layer of blubber that insulates against cold currents and stores energy for extended campaigns that may last hours or days. But anatomy alone does not explain dominance. What elevates the orca into strategic rivalry is culture. Orcas do not form random aggregations. They organize into matrilineal pods that can persist for generations, with knowledge transmitted from older females to offspring through observation and imitation. Hunting techniques are not hardwired in a universal template. They vary between populations, creating distinct ecological roles that function almost like specialized military units. In the North Pacific, some pods pursue salmon with remarkable acoustic restraint, reducing vocalizations to avoid alerting prey whose lateral lines detect vibration. In Antarctic waters, others coordinate wave-washing assaults, generating synchronized swells that break apart ice flows to dislodge resting seals. Along certain coasts of South America, pods intentionally strand themselves on beaches to seize sea lions, using tidal timing and coordinated retreat to avoid grounding. These are not isolated tricks. They are learned strategies, refined and preserved. When such a predator enters rivalry, the confrontation rarely resembles a chaotic clash. It unfolds as sustained pressure applied to shared resources. Productive hunting grounds, especially those tied to seasonal migrations, represent concentrated energy in a vast and otherwise dilute ocean. Salmon runs funnel biomass into narrow channels. Seal rookeries create predictable gatherings of prey. Whale migration corridors compress large herbivores into manageable pathways. Control over these zones determines not just immediate caloric intake, but long-term reproductive success. Orcas understand these patterns not as abstract maps, but as lived routes memorized over decades. Their migrations can track prey across hundreds or thousands of kilometers, synchronized with temperature shifts and photoperiod cues that govern spawning cycles. When rival predators attempt to exploit the same space, conflict becomes inevitable. Consider the interaction between orcas and large sharks. In recent years, documented cases have shown orcas targeting sharks with surgical precision, often flipping them upside down to induce tonic immobility, a physiological state in which the shark's nervous system becomes temporarily suppressed. The orca then tears open the abdomen to extract the liver, a nutrient-dense organ rich in lipids that provides enormous energetic return for minimal time investment. This is not indiscriminate killing. It is selective exploitation. The removal of apex sharks from a region can trigger cascading ecological effects, altering mesopredator behavior and redistributing prey species across reefs and kelp forests. In this way, rivalry becomes ecological engineering. The orca is not simply eliminating competition, it is reshaping the structure of the food web. The mechanics of these encounters reveal a blend of brute force and calculated timing. An adult orca can exceed several tons in mass, yet it retains agility through a powerful fluke that generates thrust in vertical oscillations. Its echolocation system emits focused clicks that rebound off bodies in the water column, constructing a three-dimensional acoustic image that can detect the density of tissue and even the subtle movement of internal organs. In turbid or low light conditions, this sensory adaptation provides decisive advantage. Rival predators that rely primarily on vision or electroreception may find themselves detected long before they sense danger. The ocean becomes asymmetrical, tilted in favor of the animal that can perceive more layers of information. Yet rivalry with other top predators is only part of the story. Orcas also exert dominance through intimidation and harassment over extended periods. A pod may shadow a group of dolphins, disrupting feeding patterns and forcing them into energetically costly evasive maneuvers. It may patrol the periphery of a seal colony repeatedly, not always striking but ensuring that prey remain in a constant state of vigilance. Chronic stress in prey species can reduce reproductive rates and alter habitat use, effectively surrendering territory without direct confrontation. In ecological terms, this is a landscape of fear imposed at scale. The orca weaponizes anticipation. This sustained pressure requires extraordinary metabolic management. Large predators face a fundamental constraint. Their energy demands are immense, and failed hunts can quickly translate into caloric deficit. Orcas mitigate this risk through cooperative hunting that increases capture probability and distributes effort. Individuals take on roles within the pod, some herding prey, others delivering the final strike. Calves observe these interactions from an early age, absorbing both technique and timing. The efficiency gained from collaboration allows the pod to attempt more ambitious targets, including whales much larger than themselves. Documented encounters show orcas attacking baleen whales by exhausting them through repeated harassment, preventing them from surfacing comfortably to breathe, and targeting vulnerable calves first. The objective is not random aggression, but strategic depletion. Territory in the open ocean is not marked by visible boundaries, yet it exists in patterns of repeated use. Orca pods exhibit site fidelity, returning to specific coastal corridors and offshore banks year after year. These areas often correspond to upwelling zones where nutrient-rich waters rise from the depths, fueling plankton blooms that cascade upward through trophic levels. By anchoring their movements to these productive hotspots, orcas position themselves at the apex of predictable energy flow. Rival predators entering these zones must contend not only with the physical presence of the pod, but with its accumulated knowledge of currents, bathymetry, and prey behavior. Intelligence in this context becomes territorial memory. The social structure that underpins this dominance is unusually stable among mammals. Post-reproductive females continue to play critical roles in guiding pods, suggesting a selection pressure that favors extended lifespan beyond direct reproduction. This phenomenon, rare in the animal kingdom, enhances group survival by preserving ecological knowledge. When food becomes scarce, older females have been observed leading pods to alternative feeding grounds based on prior experience with fluctuating prey cycles. In rivalry scenarios, this memory allows anticipation of competitor movements. The contest is not reactive, but predictive. Orcas also demonstrate flexibility in diet that reduces vulnerability to resource collapse. Some populations specialize so narrowly that they rarely deviate from preferred prey, while others display broader opportunism. This diversity reflects both ecological opportunity and cultural inheritance. A pod that hunts marine mammals may ignore abundant fish, even when fish-eating pods operate nearby. Such specialization minimizes internal competition, but intensifies external rivalry. When two ecotypes overlap spatially, their interactions can be tense, but structured, often maintaining separation through distinct vocal dialects and hunting depths. Acoustic signatures function as identity markers, reducing unnecessary conflict while preserving dominance hierarchies. In polar waters, rivalry extends to interactions with ice itself. Orcas coordinate to create waves that fracture ice platforms, exposing seals that rely on frozen surfaces for rest and breeding. This behavior demonstrates not only strength, but environmental manipulation. The ice becomes a tool in the contest for access. In warmer regions, pods may exploit human fishing operations, intercepting long lines or nets to extract captured fish. Such behavior introduces a new dimension of rivalry, where the opponent is not another predator, but an industrial competitor capable of depleting entire stocks. In these contexts, Orcas display rapid learning, associating engine noise with feeding opportunity. Intelligence adapts to anthropogenic change. What distinguishes the orca in ocean combat is not a single anatomical trait, but the convergence of cognition, cooperation, and ecological leverage. It does not rely solely on speed or size, it orchestrates outcomes. A shark may dominate through solitary power and a large whale through sheer mass, but the orca operates as a coordinated system in which individuals function as components of a larger strategic entity. Rivalries therefore escalate beyond isolated encounters. They become campaigns that can shift the distribution of species across regions. When an orcapod claims a productive corridor, the ripple effects extend downward through trophic levels. Prey redistribute, mesopredators alter hunting times, and even scavengers adjust to new patterns of carcass availability. The ocean is not static but responsive. In this dynamic field, the orca stands as both participant and architect, imposing order through sustained interaction rather than fleeting violence. Its dominance is maintained not by constant combat, but by the credible threat of it, reinforced through repeated demonstrations of capability. As the acoustic pulses fade into distance and the surface calms, the imprint remains. Competitors have withdrawn or been eliminated, prey have shifted, and the energy of a region has been reallocated. The orca has not merely eaten, it has dictated terms. In a food web where survival often depends on opportunism and speed, the orca elevates conflict into strategy. Intelligence, passed from one generation to the next, becomes a weapon as tangible as teeth. The rivalry does not end when the immediate confrontation subsides. It lingers in altered behavior and redrawn back. The reef edge is a line of tension. On one side, coral rises in intricate architecture. Its surface is crowded with damselfish, wrasses, and antheas moving in jittering bursts. On the other, the water deepens abruptly into cobalt blue, where currents sweep along the slope and midwater traffic thickens into loose rivers of sardines and fusiliers. Light fractures across the drop-off, scattering into shards that flash against silver scales. In this narrow corridor between structure and open sea, timing decides everything. Prey move in pulses, compressed by reef geometry and tidal flow. Predators position themselves not by brute claim of territory, but by fractions of distance and moments of readiness. Here, the Barracuda holds its place. It appears almost motionless at first, suspended in the water column with minimal fin movement, its elongated body aligned parallel to the reef face. The form is unmistakable, a long cylindrical torso tapering toward a deeply forked caudal fin designed for sudden thrust. The head is pointed, the jaws extending forward in a line of dagger-like teeth that interlock when closed. The eye is large and reflective, tuned to detect flashes of light in shifting water. Every detail of its morphology serves acceleration. There is little excess mass, no heavy torso to drag through water, no wide head to disrupt flow. The Barracuda is built around the first move. In contested feeding corridors such as reef edges, speed does not merely secure prey, it secures opportunity. Small fish aggregate near coral heads to feed on plankton carried by currents. When the current strengthens, they are pushed outward toward midwater, creating brief windows where they are exposed against open blue. Multiple predators recognize these windows. Jacks patrol in tight formations, groupers lurk near overhangs, reef sharks cruise along the slope. The Barracuda occupies the intermediate space, neither fully reef-bound nor fully pelagic. It waits for prey to drift just far enough from cover that a single burst can intersect their trajectory. Rivalry emerges when another predator shadows the same corridor. Unlike dominance contests over carcasses or territory, this competition unfolds in seconds. If a jack or small shark approaches the feeding lane, the geometry shifts. Prey alter direction, tightening into evasive clusters. The Barracuda cannot rely on sustained chase. Its strategy is built on explosive acceleration fueled by white muscle fibers optimized for short, anaerobic bursts. The caudal peduncle, narrow and muscular, acts as a hinge that converts stored tension into forward propulsion. In water, where drag increases with the square of velocity, such acceleration is metabolically expensive. the barracuda commits only when probability of interception is high. The sensory landscape of the reef edge is chaotic. Light flickers through surface ripples, creating illusions of movement. Plankton blooms reduce clarity, scattering photons into a haze. Yet the barracuda's vision is adapted for contrast detection, allowing it to discern the brief glint of scales against background noise. Its lateral line registers pressure changes from schooling fish that shift direction as a unit. These signals inform the strike before it occurs. In rivalry, this sensory acuity becomes competitive leverage. A predator that hesitates half a heartbeat loses the prey to another. The barracuda's stillness is not passivity, but energy conservation. In warm tropical waters, metabolic rates run high, and oxygen demand increases with activity. By minimizing movement until the precise moment of attack, the barracuda preserves the capacity for maximal output. When prey density peaks during tidal surges, it can launch multiple strikes in rapid succession, retreating afterward to a position of neutrality. A rival that engages in constant patrol may deplete reserves prematurely, reducing responsiveness at critical moments. Strike space along the reef is narrow. Coral projections create eddies where small fish seek shelter. The barracuda positions itself just beyond these structures, angled slightly upward to intercept prey forced outward by current. If another predator approaches from above or below, the barracuda may adjust depth subtly, maintaining a lane of clear acceleration. Conflict in such spaces is rarely prolonged. Two predators lunging simultaneously toward the same school risk collision. The barracuda's streamlined body allows it to thread through tight gaps between coral heads, avoiding impact while maintaining speed. The intimidation factor of barracudas is not derived from mass, but from the visibility of their teeth and the abruptness of their motion. Schooling fish respond to silhouette and speed. A sudden elongate shape streaking toward them can fracture cohesion, splitting the school into fragments. This fragmentation benefits not only the barracuda, but also any rival predator nearby. In this sense, rivalry can create temporary alliances of opportunity, though each predator seeks to secure individual prey. Once the initial chaos subsides, competition resumes. Juvenile barracudas often form loose groups in shallow seagrass beds, but large adults tend towards solitary patrols or small aggregations. In areas of exceptionally high prey density, multiple barracudas may align parallel to one another, each maintaining a small buffer zone. Hierarchy appears fluid. Larger individuals often occupy central positions where prey flow is strongest. Smaller barracudas are displaced to peripheral lanes with lower traffic. Direct aggression between conspecifics is uncommon but not absent. Scarred flanks suggest occasional bites during disputes over feeding alignment. However, prolonged fighting would compromise the efficiency upon which their hunting strategy depends. Thermal conditions influence activity patterns. In cooler morning waters, barracudas may remain deeper along the slope, conserving energy until sunlit surface layers warm and increase prey movement. As temperature rises, metabolic output and prey activity synchronize, intensifying feeding windows. Rivalry peaks during these synchronized surges, when multiple predators converge on the same corridor, anticipating maximum prey density. The barracuda's capacity for rapid acceleration allows it to exploit these peaks more effectively than bulkier hunters. Predator-prey dynamics along reef edges are shaped by structural complexity. Coral formations provide refuge, but also funnel movement into predictable routes. The barracuda leverages this by aligning with current vectors that carry prey toward open water before they can pivot back to safety. In this compressed zone, even minor spatial advantage determines outcome. A rival predator arriving slightly upstream may divert prey before they enter the barracuda's strike lane. In response, the barracuda may reposition silently, reclaiming a favorable angle without overt confrontation. The hydrodynamics of acceleration reveal further specialization. As the barracuda launches, its body forms an S-shaped curve that channels muscular contraction along the spine, amplifying thrust at the tail. The deeply forked caudal fin reduces turbulence, maximizing forward transfer of energy. Within a fraction of a second, the barracuda closes distance that would take a cruising predator far longer. Such bursts are sustainable only briefly, emphasizing the necessity of precision. In Rivalry, this precision reduces the need for extended pursuit that could attract additional competitors. Midwater zones adjacent to reefs often host mixed species feeding events triggered by spawning or plankton blooms. Here, sardines and anchovies form bait balls under pressure from multiple predators attacking from different angles. Barracudas position themselves at the periphery, exploiting prey that break from the mass. When jacks or tuna slice through the center of the school, fragments scatter outward. The barracuda's long body and sudden lunge intersect these fragments before they can reform. Competition in such frenzies is instantaneous and unforgiving. The barracuda's design also confers a degree of psychological leverage within the prey community. Small fish exhibit heightened startle responses to elongated shapes that mimic barracuda profiles. This may be an evolutionary imprint from generations of predation. Ironically, such heightened alertness can create false alarms, causing prey to scatter at the mere silhouette of a drifting object. The barracuda benefits from this heightened reactivity, as panic fractures cohesion and increases capture probability. Rival predators exploit the same chaos, but the barracuda's first move advantage often secures the immediate gain. Migration patterns among larger barracuda populations reveal seasonal shifts along coastlines tracking prey abundance. They move between inshore reefs and offshore banks, adjusting depth and habitat use as fish distributions change. During transitional periods, overlap with pelagic hunters increases. These intersections intensify rivalry because prey corridors compress temporarily into limited zones. The barracuda's adaptability across both reef and midwater environments ensures continued presence in these contested spaces. As dusk descends, the reef edge transforms. Plankton rise in the water column, drawing small fish upward. The barracuda's silhouette sharpens against the fading light. A school of fusiliers drifts too far from coral shelter, pushed by the outgoing tide. From below, a jack accelerates. From the side, the barracuda explodes forward. The water flashes with silver bodies scattering. Within the confusion, the barracuda secures a single fish and veers away, leaving the jack to circle empty water. No prolonged fight follows. The split second decided it. Ocean combat in this realm is defined not by territorial conquest, but by mastery of acceleration within contested strike space. The barracuda does not seek to dominate entire ecosystems. It seeks to own the moment when prey cross an invisible threshold. Rivalry becomes a race measured in fractions of time and meters of distance. In the knife-edged corridor between reef and blue, where currents funnel life and predators converge, the barracuda's elongated form converts stillness into violence with astonishing efficiency. Victory lies not in endurance, but in immediacy. The surface tension shatters without warning. A column of white water erupts beneath a seal that had been scanning the horizon only seconds before, and the ocean, which appeared flat and empty, reveals that it has been under observation the entire time. The great white shark does not announce its approach with visible patrol or audible warning. It assembles its strike in silence, accelerating from depth in a vertical burst that converts stored muscular power into a single decisive collision. In that moment, hydrodynamics, muscle fiber composition, and sensory precision converge into one biological event, an ambush that depends not only on force, but on certainty. The shark has already calculated the trajectory before the seal registers danger. Rivalry in this environment is born from that same principle. When a predator invests energy at this scale, it does so only when the outcome matters. The great white shark is engineered around impact. Its body tapers into a torpedo form that minimizes drag, while its caudal fin, crescent-shaped and rigid, delivers thrust with oscillations optimized for sudden acceleration rather than sustained cruising. The musculature along its flanks contains a high proportion of white muscle fibers, specialized for short bursts of anaerobic power, enabling the shark to surge upward at speeds that transform surprise into inevitability. Yet the anatomy that allows explosive assault is only one layer of its competitive arsenal. The great white is regionally endothermic, a rare adaptation among fishes, capable of maintaining core muscle temperatures significantly above surrounding water. This thermoregulatory system, powered by a countercurrent heat exchange network known as the rete mirabile, allows muscles to contract more rapidly and efficiently in cold coastal currents where seals thrive. In ecological terms, the shark is not merely enduring the cold, it is exploiting it. Productive hunting grounds in temperate seas are not evenly distributed. Seal colonies gather on rocky islands where currents converge and nutrient-rich upwellings sustain dense fish populations. Carcasses from whale strandings or natural deaths provide immense caloric windfalls that attract multiple predators from considerable distances. These zones represent concentrated energy in an otherwise vast and diffuse marine landscape. When a great white enters such an area, it is stepping into a field where the margin for compromise is narrow. Every failed attempt at a seal consumes oxygen, glycogen, and time. Every displacement by a rival reduces feeding opportunity in a window that may last only weeks. Apex predators do not engage in ritualized combat for spectacle. They escalate when the stakes justify risk. Rivalry between great white sharks often unfolds as silent assessment before any direct contact occurs. The water column carries chemical signals from injured prey or decaying flesh across kilometers, and the shark's olfactory system, capable of detecting minute concentrations of blood components, guides it toward opportunity. As multiple individuals converge, sensory overlap becomes inevitable. Ampullae of Lorenzini, the electroreceptive organs embedded in the shark's snout, register the faint electrical fields generated by muscle contractions of nearby animals. Lateral line receptors detect pressure waves produced by movement. Vision, adapted to low light with a reflective tapetum lucidum behind the retina, captures silhouettes against dim surfaces. In these moments, uncertainty is minimized. Each shark knows it is not alone. Direct clashes between great whites are rare, but consequential. Bite marks on individuals recovered by researchers reveal deep gouges along flanks and caudal fins, evidence of escalated disputes over carcasses or mating access. These injuries are not superficial. They compromise hydrodynamic efficiency and increase metabolic cost. A damaged fin disrupts thrust generation, forcing the shark to expend more energy during hunts. A torn muscle impairs acceleration, reducing the likelihood of successful ambush. Even without lethal outcomes, rivalry imposes biological expense. The presence of a larger individual alone can alter feeding order, pushing smaller sharks to the periphery of a carcass where scraps replace prime tissue. Dominance manifests in feeding priority. Unlike cooperative hunters, great white sharks operate primarily as solitary competitors. This solitary design intensifies rivalry because there is no shared gain. Each encounter at a feeding site becomes a negotiation of size, speed, and intimidation. Larger females, which can exceed the mass of males significantly, often displace smaller individuals through direct approach and aggressive posturing. The water need not turn red for hierarchy to be established. Subtle shifts in orientation, body curvature, and approach angle communicate readiness to escalate. In an ecosystem where injury can mean starvation, prudence becomes a survival strategy. Retreat may preserve future opportunity. The energetic economy of a great white's life explains why presence itself can be a weapon. Coastal seal colonies represent predictable seasonal abundance. During peak pupping seasons, inexperienced juveniles enter the water in high numbers, offering caloric return that can sustain sharks for months. If a dominant shark establishes residency in such an area, others may be forced into less productive zones with fewer prey or greater competition from other predators. The displaced shark faces a cascade of consequences: increased search time, higher energy expenditure, and potentially lower reproductive success. Rivalry here reshapes spatial distribution across kilometers of coastline. Carcass competition provides another lens into apex combat. When a whale dies at sea, the decomposition process releases a plume of scent that draws predators from vast distances. Great whites, tiger sharks, and other large scavengers converge, each evaluating not only the carcass, but the size and disposition of rivals. The blubber of a whale contains enormous lipid reserves, and access to it can support extended fasting afterward. Yet the approach to such a feast is measured. Sharks circle, test, and sometimes lunge in displays that probe resolve. Teeth rake through flesh not only to feed but to assert position. Even when no fatal injury occurs between competitors, the stress of contest elevates metabolic demand. The ocean surface may appear calm to distant observers, but below, calculations unfold with each pass. The great white's bite force is often described in raw power, yet its effectiveness lies equally in structural design. Rows of serrated teeth, arranged in conveyor-like succession, ensure that broken or lost teeth are replaced continuously. The triangular shape allows for efficient slicing through dense tissue, while the jaw musculature generates pressure sufficient to fracture bone. In Rivalry, this capacity translates into credible threat. A single successful bite to a rival's flank could cripple swimming ability. Thus, escalation remains restrained until necessary. Combat among apex predators is often defined by what does not happen. Migration patterns further complicate rivalry dynamics. Satellite tracking has revealed that great whites undertake transoceanic journeys between feeding and breeding grounds, navigating open water with precision that suggests sensitivity to geomagnetic cues and oceanographic features. These migrations synchronize with prey movements and seasonal productivity cycles. When multiple sharks converge on the same coastal region after long journeys, the competition is sharpened by temporal overlap. The window for feeding before departure may be limited. In such compressed timelines, tolerance decreases. The great white's sensory system reduces hesitation in these encounters. Electroreception allows detection of heartbeats and muscle contractions in prey concealed by murky water or kelp forests. Vision distinguishes contrast even at depth, while acute hearing registers low-frequency vibrations from struggling animals. Together, these systems collapse the margin of error. In rivalry scenarios, certainty of detection can deter ambush by competitors. A shark aware of another's approach can adjust orientation or depth to avoid disadvantage. The duel becomes one of positioning rather than blind collision. Even absence carries ecological weight. In regions where great white populations decline due to overfishing or habitat disruption, mesopredator populations may expand unchecked, altering prey distributions and cascading through trophic layers. The dominance of a single large shark over a feeding site can maintain balance by suppressing excessive predation from smaller sharks. Rivalry among apex predators thus influences not only immediate feeding outcomes, but broader community structure. The cost of displacement reverberates beyond the individuals involved. Reproductive competition introduces another layer of combat. During mating periods, males pursue females persistently, sometimes biting to secure position. These interactions leave scars that accumulate over time, marking individuals as veterans of reproductive rivalry. The energy invested in mating attempts must be offset by successful feeding, tying reproductive success directly to dominance in hunting grounds. A male unable to secure adequate territory may fail to reproduce altogether. The stakes of rivalry extend into the next generation. The brutality of great white combat is therefore not defined solely by visible violence, but by strategic displacement. To hold a hunting zone without compromise is to secure a stream of energy that sustains body mass, supports migration, and fuels reproduction. To be excluded is to operate at a deficit. The ocean does not reward hesitation. In a system governed by metabolic arithmetic, even small disadvantages accumulate. As dusk settles over a seal-rich bay, silhouettes glide beneath the surface in overlapping arcs. No splashes betray their tension. Yet each shark tracks the others with sensory acuity, honed by millions of years of evolution. A slight shift in approach angle determines who claims the next ambush site near the drop-off where seals enter deep water. The one that positions itself with optimal depth and current advantage effectively dictates the feeding order for the evening. Rivalry here is subtle but decisive. Ocean combat unfolds not always in explosive breaches, but in the invisible calculus of territory and opportunity. The great white shark embodies apex design forged for collision, yet its most consequential battles may never draw blood. Through displacement, intimidation, and strategic occupation of productive zones, it asserts control over energy flow in coastal ecosystems. Presence alone alters the behavior of competitors and prey alike. In this arena, to hunt without compromise is the ultimate prize, and the shark that secures that right shapes the rhythm of the sea around it. The reef does not end at its surface. Beneath the branching corals and plate formations lies a second city, darker and compressed, where tunnels intersect and chambers widen just enough to hold a single body. Light filters only in thin, broken beams that illuminate suspended particles before vanishing into shadow. Here, inside the architecture built by generations of coral polyps and calcified skeletons, space is not an open expanse but a network of choke points. Passageways narrow to the width of a wrist, then widen into grottos that offer concealment and ambush. In this interior terrain, territory is measured in centimeters and ownership determines survival. It is within these confined corridors that the Moray eel establishes its claim. At first glance, the Moray appears almost serpentine, its elongated body lacking the paired pectoral and pelvic fins common in many fishes. The skin is thick and scaleless, coated in a layer of mucus that reduces abrasion against coral rock and may also offer limited antimicrobial protection in environments rich with bacteria and parasites. Its dorsal fin runs seamlessly along its back, merging with the caudal and anal fins in a continuous fringe that enables undulating motion. In open water, such propulsion would be inefficient. Within tunnels, it is ideal. The Moray threads itself through bends and crevices with muscular precision, pressing its flanks against rock to anchor or pivot. The head of the Moray is disproportionately robust compared to its body diameter, housing strong jaw muscles and teeth designed not for slicing but for gripping. Yet the most remarkable feature lies behind the visible jaws. Morays possess a secondary set of pharyngeal jaws that can project forward into the oral cavity to seize prey and draw it deeper into the throat. This adaptation compensates for the absence of suction feeding common in many fishes, allowing the Moray to secure prey in confined spaces where escape routes are limited. In Rivalry, this second bite transforms contact into entrapment. Shelter within a reef is more than a resting place. It is thermal refuge, protection from larger predators, and a vantage point from which prey can be intercepted. Reef temperatures fluctuate with depth and current, and interior cavities often provide more stable conditions, buffering against extremes of heat during midday sun. Oxygen levels within these crevices can decline at night when respiration exceeds photosynthesis, yet morays tolerate such fluctuations, aided by their ability to pump water rhythmically across their gills by opening and closing their mouths. The constant gaping that gives morays their fearsome appearance is not aggression, but ventilation, maintaining oxygen flow in tight quarters. Rivalry begins when another moray, or a competing predator, seeks access to the same cavity. In reef systems where space is limited, prime shelter sites are scarce. A tunnel with a single narrow entrance can be defended effectively by a resident eel whose body fills the passage. The intruder faces a dilemma: retreat or press forward into a space that favors the defender. There is no room to circle or maneuver broadly. Combat, if it occurs, is immediate and intimate. When two morays encounter one another within a crevice, their bodies coil and press against rock as leverage. Teeth clash, not in sweeping arcs, but in short, forceful snaps aimed at securing purchase. If a bite lands, the pharyngeal jaws may engage, drawing flesh inward. In such confinement, even a minor injury can impair mobility, and impaired mobility in a tunnel can be fatal. The geometry of the battlefield amplifies consequence. A moray pinned against stone by a rival's body cannot rely on speed to disengage. Competition extends beyond conspecifics. Reef groupers, octopuses, and even certain sharks may attempt to enter caves where prey congregate. Morays have been observed forming cooperative hunting partnerships with groupers in some regions where visual signals initiate joint patrols of reef cavities. However, cooperation is context-dependent. In scenarios where shelter is contested rather than prey flushed, alliance dissolves into exclusion. A grouper too large to enter a narrow tunnel cannot displace a moray already anchored inside. Conversely, a moray venturing into more open water risks encountering predators that exceed it in size. The confined nature of moray territory shapes behavior patterns across the reef. During daylight, many species remain partially concealed, exposing only their heads from crevices as they scan for passing prey. Nocturnal activity increases after sunset, when smaller fishes leave coral branches to forage and invertebrates emerge. Rivalry over shelter intensifies during these transitional periods. A displaced moray must find alternative cover before daylight returns, or risk predation by larger hunters such as reef sharks or barracudas. The mucus coating on moray's skin plays a subtle but important role in these interactions. In addition to reducing friction against rough coral surfaces, it may deter parasites and inhibit microbial growth in wounds. Reef environments are dense with microorganisms, and any breach in skin integrity invites infection. A moray engaged in combat must rely on rapid healing supported by this protective layer. In evolutionary terms, individuals with more resilient skin chemistry would have survived more encounters within abrasive tunnels. Predator-prey interactions inside reef cracks reveal the moray's ambush geometry. A small fish seeking refuge may dart into a crevice, believing the narrow space offers safety from open water predators. If the tunnel is already occupied by a moray, the refuge becomes a trap. The eel's body curves along the rock, forming an invisible barrier. When prey approaches too closely, the initial bite secures it, and the pharyngeal jaws extend to lock it in place. In rivalry scenarios, another predator hovering outside the cave entrance may attempt to intercept fleeing prey. Yet the confined angle often favors the moray, whose strike originates from within the structure itself. Competition among morays may also involve chemical cues. Olfactory sensitivity allows detection of other eels occupying nearby cavities. A resident individual may respond to the scent of an intruder with increased vigilance, extending further from its crevice or patrolling adjacent tunnels. Territorial boundaries in reefs are not marked by visible lines, but by habitual occupancy reinforced through repeated presence. Over time, spatial memory defines ownership. Thermoregulation for morays remains largely ectothermic, yet the interior reef offers microclimates that moderate temperature extremes. By occupying deeper or shaded cavities during midday heat, morays reduce metabolic stress. Rivalry over these thermally favorable sites can influence daily movement patterns. A subordinate individual forced into shallower, warmer crevices may experience elevated metabolic demand and reduced feeding efficiency. The architectural complexity of coral reefs intensifies the stakes of interior combat. Coral growth creates labyrinthine passages that can collapse or shift during storms, altering access routes. After major disturbances, available shelter decreases temporarily, compressing moray populations into fewer viable cavities. During these periods, encounters increase. The confined battlefield becomes more crowded. A rarely observed but documented behavior among certain moray species involves cooperative hunting with other morays, where two individuals coordinate to flush prey from opposing ends of a tunnel. Such cooperation suggests cognitive flexibility and spatial problem-solving. Yet even cooperative individuals must negotiate occupancy once prey is captured. The narrow passage cannot sustain two full-grown eels indefinitely. Shared hunting may precede renewed territorial contest. Inside the reef at dusk, when light fades to a dim cobalt and plankton drift toward the surface, a moray's head protrudes from its chosen crevice. Its jaws open and close rhythmically, ventilating gills. A second eel approaches along the outer wall, its body sliding across coral branches. The two detect each other through scent and vibration before their heads align at the tunnel mouth. Neither can expand into open water without relinquishing advantage. The entrance is just wide enough for one. Muscular coils tighten. The first snap echoes faintly against stone. Ocean combat in this realm is not spectacular from a distance. It is compressed, angular, and brutal within centimeters of rock. The moray eel exemplifies rivalry shaped by shelter and geometry. Its second set of jaws ensures that once contact is made, escape becomes unlikely. Control of a single crevice may determine access to prey, thermal refuge, and survival through the next tide cycle. In coral architecture, where corridors twist and light rarely penetrates fully, trench warfare replaces open chase. Victory belongs not to the largest or fastest, but to the one whose body and instincts align perfectly with the shape of the reef itself. The water along the reef edge is not clear enough for certainty. Sediment hangs in suspension where waves break over coral heads and sweep sand into the channel. Fragments of seagrass drift in loose spirals, and the scent of something torn and bleeding spreads in irregular plumes that curl through mangrove roots before dissolving into deeper water. It is in these margins, where habitats overlap and clarity collapses, that the tiger shark operates at its most competitive advantage. The environment is not a simple blue arena. It is layered, obstructed, and alive with competing signals. A rival cannot rely on distance alone here. It must navigate confusion. The tiger shark is built for this ambiguity. Its body is broad and muscular, not as streamlined as a great white, but powerful in a way that favors sustained patrol through cluttered terrain. Dark vertical stripes fade across its flanks, most visible in juveniles but still discernible in adults, creating disruptive patterns that fracture its outline against broken light. In turbid water, where visibility drops to only a few body lengths, camouflage becomes as important as speed. The shark's head is blunt and wide, housing sensory organs arranged to sample chemical and electrical information in chaotic currents. Its mouth curves in a way that allows teeth to engage at multiple angles, and those teeth are uniquely serrated with a pronounced notch that can slice through turtle shell, fish bone, or mammalian flesh with equal efficiency. This is not a specialist weapon. It is an adaptable one. In coastal systems, resources are concentrated in unpredictable pulses. A dead dolphin may wash into a channel. A nesting sea turtle may enter shallow water to lay eggs, exposing itself during the approach and retreat. Schools of fish compress against reef walls as tides shift. Each event draws attention. The tiger shark does not need to dominate one narrow prey type to compete. It capitalizes on variability. This dietary flexibility is not simply a curiosity. It shapes rivalry. When multiple large predators converge on a carcass or productive reef margin, the tiger shark's willingness to consume nearly anything reduces the threshold for engagement. If the resource is partially degraded or scattered, it remains usable. In competitive terms, the tiger shark wastes little. Consider a whale carcass drifting toward a reef shelf. As decomposition gases accumulate, the body bobs irregularly, releasing lipids and scent into warm water. Smaller scavengers arrive first, followed by larger sharks that detect the plume through acute olfaction, capable of sensing trace molecules diluted across vast distances. The tiger shark approaches not in a direct charge, but in a methodical arc, circling and sampling. Its lateral line registers vibrations from other predators feeding below the surface. Electroreceptors detect muscle contractions as rival sharks tear at tissue. In this layered sensory field, the tiger shark does not commit immediately. It evaluates. Rivalry in such settings is rarely a single collision. It is a prolonged negotiation shaped by proximity and persistence. A tiger shark may test the flank of another shark with a glancing pass, not to inflict lethal injury, but to assert position and probe reaction speed. If the competitor yields even slightly, the tiger shark occupies a more favorable feeding angle. If resistance is strong, it may withdraw and reapproach from a different vector, exploiting the complexity of the terrain. Coral outcrops and drop-offs create blind spots. A predator that understands how currents bend around these structures can appear unexpectedly at a rival's side. Flexibility becomes dominance. The tiger shark's reputation for consuming unusual items, from crustaceans to birds and even inedible debris, is often reduced to spectacle. Yet this trait has strategic implications. A predator that tolerates dietary variation can endure fluctuations that might displace more specialized rivals. During seasonal shifts, when certain prey migrate offshore, tiger sharks remain in coastal waters, shifting focus to alternative food sources. This persistence increases the likelihood of encounters with other apex predators that also depend on these zones. Unlike species that withdraw to follow a single prey corridor, the tiger shark stays embedded in mixed habitats. Rivalry becomes constant. Thermoregulation in tiger sharks is less pronounced than in regionally endothermic species, yet their physiology is adapted to warm, shallow systems where metabolic rates can fluctuate with temperature. In tropical and subtropical waters, heat accelerates digestion and activity, enabling more frequent feeding cycles. However, higher temperatures also reduce dissolved oxygen levels, adding physiological stress during intense interactions. A prolonged chase or aggressive encounter can push oxygen demand beyond comfortable thresholds. The tiger shark manages this through measured pacing rather than explosive bursts. Its combat style favors endurance within complexity rather than singular impact. Along reef margins, visibility may be reduced to only a few meters by plankton blooms or stirred sediment. In such conditions, unpredictability increases for all participants. A rival cannot easily assess the size or intent of another shark until they are nearly within biting range. The tiger shark's broad head and forward-set eyes allow a wide field of view, while its ability to roll slightly and adjust pitch grants maneuverability in tight spaces. When two large sharks circle in cloudy water, each movement sends pressure waves that ripple through the environment, detected by sensitive lateral lines. The duel unfolds in partial blindness, guided by vibration and scent more than sight. This uncertainty extends to interactions with other species. In coastal bays, tiger sharks overlap with bull sharks, large hammerheads, and occasionally great whites that venture into warmer waters. Each predator brings a different sensory emphasis and hunting style. The bull shark tolerates low salinity and can penetrate estuaries. The hammerhead uses a wide cephalofoil to enhance electroreception. The great white relies on burst acceleration. The tiger shark navigates among them with opportunism. It may not be the fastest or the most specialized in any single domain, but it can operate effectively in the overlapping edges of all of them. In rivalry, this makes it difficult to predict. Predator-prey interactions further complicate these contests. Sea turtles, a common prey item for tiger sharks, often forage in seagrass beds that also attract dugongs and fish schools. When a turtle is injured or stressed, it releases chemical cues that drift through the grass canopy. Tiger sharks respond to these signals, gliding low over the substrate, their dorsal surfaces blending with the dappled light. If another shark arrives simultaneously, the confined space forces proximity. A turtle struggling beneath them creates chaotic movement, increasing the risk of accidental contact or deliberate bite between predators. In these moments, feeding and rivalry merge. The tiger shark's dentition deserves attention beyond its cutting ability. Each tooth is broad with coarse serrations and a distinctive notch that functions like a can opener against armored prey. This morphology allows efficient processing of hard tissues, but it also means that a defensive bite against a rival can inflict deep lacerations. Scar patterns observed on adult tiger sharks suggest that intraspecific conflicts do occur, particularly around mating periods or feeding frenzies. However, as with many apex predators, escalation is calibrated. Injury threatens survival in a habitat where wounds can become infected or impair hydrodynamics. Combat often stops short of lethal damage, yet the threat remains credible. Migration in tiger sharks is less rigidly patterned than in some pelagic species, yet satellite tagging has revealed extensive seasonal movements that track temperature gradients and prey abundance. Some individuals travel across entire ocean basins, while others remain resident in coastal systems for extended periods. This variability increases the complexity of rivalry because population composition within a given habitat can change unexpectedly. A local shark accustomed to dominance may suddenly encounter a transient individual larger or more aggressive than itself. The hierarchy resets. Environmental noise amplifies uncertainty. Storm runoff reduces salinity and visibility. Tidal surges alter current direction and prey distribution. Artificial structures such as piers and fishing nets introduce new obstacles and attract fish schools that draw predators into close quarters. The tiger shark adapts to these disturbances with investigative behavior, approaching novel objects with slow, deliberate movements that test for potential reward. This curiosity, sometimes interpreted as recklessness, is better understood as exploratory strategy in dynamic environments. In rivalry scenarios, it can create openings. A competitor distracted by human activity or complex terrain may lose positional advantage. Ocean combat in these mixed habitats rarely resolves in dramatic spectacle. Instead, it manifests as incremental shifts in access. A tiger shark that maintains proximity to a reef pass during peak fish movement effectively controls a feeding corridor. Smaller or less persistent sharks may divert to secondary zones with lower prey density. The cost of displacement accumulates over weeks. Energy budgets tighten. Reproductive timing may shift. Rivalry reshapes distribution patterns subtly but persistently. As twilight deepens over a mangrove-fringed lagoon, silhouettes weave between prop roots where juvenile fish seek shelter. A tiger shark glides along the edge, its stripes dissolving into shadow. Farther out, another large predator patrols the channel mouth. They are aware of each other through scent and vibration long before they are visible. Neither rushes forward. Instead, they circle within overlapping spheres of influence, adjusting depth and angle. The lagoon is not wide enough for complete separation, yet not confined enough to force direct collision. The contest is one of endurance within ambiguity. The tiger shark embodies rivalry shaped by environmental complexity. It does not rely on a singular perfected ambush, but on adaptability across shifting terrain. In contested water where currents twist and visibility fails, unpredictability becomes advantage. The deadliness of its combat lies not only in tooth and muscle, but in its refusal to be constrained by one feeding script. In the margins between reef and open sea, where energy pulses erratically and predators overlap, the tiger shark thrives. Presence alone alters the behavior of others, bending feeding patterns and redistributing risk. Ocean combat here is not a clean duel beneath clear sky. It is a sustained contest within confusion, where flexibility determines who feeds without compromise and who yields ground in silence. The reef at dusk does not erupt into violence. It tightens. As daylight drains from the water column, diurnal fish retreat into coral branches, and nocturnal species begin to emerge from shadowed cavities. The architecture of the reef becomes a layered arena of ledges, overhangs, and pinnacles where movement is slow, deliberate, and often silent. Plankton drift in greater density as currents slacken, drawing small crustaceans and juvenile fish into the open for brief feeding windows. It is in this dimming light that the lionfish extends itself fully into the water column, its fins unfurling like a living lattice of spines and membranes. There is no rush in its motion. The threat is already visible. The lionfish's body is not built around acceleration or brute impact. Instead, it projects perimeter. Long, venomous dorsal spines rise like rigid antennae, each connected to venom glands at their base. Broad pectoral fins spread outward in semicircular fans, striped membranes that increase apparent size and manipulate water flow. The head is angled downward slightly as it hovers, the mouth capable of opening rapidly to generate suction that draws prey inward. The visual impression is theatrical, yet the mechanics are precise. In contested reef space, this design reshapes how close another predator can approach without risking pain. Venom in lionfish is defensive rather than aggressive. The spines do not inject toxin unless pressed. Yet this conditional threat alters the geometry of rivalry. A competitor seeking access to a sheltered overhang or prey-rich coral head must calculate distance carefully. A misjudged advance could result in envenomation, which, while rarely lethal to large predators, can cause intense pain, tissue damage, and temporary impairment. In a system where feeding windows are short and injury carries high cost, even temporary impairment shifts the balance. The lionfish does not need to chase a rival away. It needs only to hold position convincingly. The venom itself is a complex mixture of proteins that disrupt cell membranes and stimulate intense nociceptive responses in vertebrates. In smaller fish, contact may be fatal. In larger animals, it creates immediate deterrence. This biochemical defense allows the lionfish to remain conspicuous without sacrificing safety. Its striped coloration, alternating bands of red, brown, and white, functions as aposematic signaling, warning potential threats of the risk embedded in its spines. In reef systems crowded with visual cues, such clarity reduces accidental contact and reinforces territorial spacing. Territory for a lionfish is often centered on structurally complex coral, where juvenile fish congregate. These microhabitats provide both prey abundance and concealment from larger predators. Unlike high-speed hunters that patrol wide areas, Lionfish practice site fidelity, returning repeatedly to favored ledges. They feed primarily through slow approach and coordinated fin movements that herd prey into corners. By spreading their pectoral fins, they create a visual barrier that guides small fish toward a narrowing gap. Once prey are compressed against rock, a rapid suction strike completes the capture. This method requires space that is geometrically predictable. Rivalry emerges when another lionfish or a competing predator attempts to use the same structure. In regions where lionfish populations have expanded beyond native ranges, particularly in parts of the Atlantic and Caribbean, densities can become high enough that overlap is unavoidable. Unlike solitary sharks that can retreat into open water, lionfish operate within limited structural refuges. When two individuals approach the same overhang, their fins extend further, and their bodies orient side by side in subtle displays. Direct biting is rare. Instead, spatial pressure determines outcome. The presence of venom alters the cost-benefit analysis for competitors. A grouper or snapper considering a charge must weigh the nutritional gain of securing the feeding spot against the potential pain and impairment from contacting spines. In ecosystems where lionfish are invasive and local predators lack evolutionary experience with them, caution may be heightened. The lionfish thus secures feeding corridors through deterrence rather than dominance in size. Physiologically, lionfish are ectothermic and depend on ambient water temperature to regulate metabolism. In warm tropical reefs, digestive processes are efficient, allowing frequent feeding. However, lionfish have demonstrated tolerance to a wider range of temperatures and depths than many reef specialists, enabling them to exploit habitats from shallow lagoons to deeper slopes. This adaptability increases the number of contested zones in which rivalry may occur. Where prey densities spike seasonally, lionfish may expand their territorial range temporarily, encountering rivals along the margins. Reproductive behavior introduces additional competition. During breeding periods, males establish temporary territories that overlap with feeding sites. Courtship involves vertical ascents in the water column and synchronized swimming near dusk. Rival males may approach these zones, prompting displays that include fin extension and circling. The venomous spines remain deployed, ensuring that even reproductive rivalry carries inherent risk. Yet actual contact is minimized. The deterrent quality of venom maintains boundaries without frequent injury. Predator-prey interactions around lionfish often reveal the subtler impact of their presence. Juvenile fish that might otherwise forage freely in open patches adjust movement patterns to avoid the extended silhouette of a lionfish's fins. This altered behavior can shift grazing pressure on algae, indirectly influencing reef health. In areas where lionfish densities are high, native predators may find fewer accessible juveniles, altering trophic relationships. Rivalry therefore extends beyond immediate feeding contests to ecosystem-level consequences. One of the most surprising aspects of lionfish behavior is their occasional cooperative hunting. Observations have recorded individuals working in loose pairs to herd prey into confined spaces more effectively than a single hunter could manage. While not a constant behavior, it illustrates behavioral flexibility. However, cooperative hunting does not eliminate rivalry. Once prey are captured, proximity within limited space reintroduces tension. The deterrent effect of venom ensures that even in cooperative contexts, personal space is maintained carefully. The hydrodynamics of fin display deserve attention. By spreading pectoral fins, lionfish increase surface area, altering water flow around their bodies. This may create subtle eddies that disorient small fish, making escape more difficult. In confined reef passages, these water disturbances accumulate against rock, effectively reducing the escape speed required to intercept prey. Rival predators lacking similar fin structures cannot replicate this tactic without risking closer proximity. Thermal refuges within reef cavities also shape lionfish positioning. During periods of elevated temperature stress, shaded overhangs provide cooler microhabitats. Access to these zones can reduce metabolic strain and conserve energy. A lionfish occupying such a site gains both feeding advantage and physiological comfort. Rivalry over these refuges intensifies during seasonal heat waves, when oxygen levels may drop and stress responses increase among reef inhabitants. Invasive populations of lionfish have revealed another dimension of rivalry: ecological release. In regions where natural predators are scarce or inexperienced, lionfish can dominate feeding sites with minimal opposition. This dominance results not from direct aggression, but from the cumulative deterrent effect of venom and perimeter control. Native predators that might otherwise contest territory often avoid close engagement. The reef becomes partitioned by caution. As night deepens, plankton density increases further, drawing juvenile fish out of hiding. A lionfish hovers beneath a coral shelf, fins extended to form a semicircle against the rock. Another predator, perhaps a juvenile reef shark, cruises nearby. The shark's movement is fluid and exploratory, but it does not approach the shelf closely. The risk of brushing against venomous spines outweighs the uncertain reward of a single prey fish. The lionfish, unhurried, advances a few centimeters, herding a small wrasse toward the narrowing gap between its fins and the stone. The strike is swift, almost understated. No dramatic collision follows. The shark continues past, choosing easier terrain. Ocean combat in this scenario is not measured in speed or impact, but in perimeter control. The lionfish transforms its body into a deterrent architecture that reshapes how rivals navigate shared space. Venom-backed presence establishes a boundary that others respect. Feeding rights are negotiated not through overt battle, but through calculated avoidance. In the dim complexity of coral structures, where mistakes can be costly, the animal that projects danger without needing to prove it often prevails. The lionfish's quiet dominance illustrates that in marine ecosystems, efficiency and restraint can rival force as tools of control. The river mouth does not announce where the sea ends and the land begins. The water thickens first. Salt dilutes into brown runoff. Suspended sediment turns the light amber, and the tide folds back on itself against the current. Mangrove roots braid the shoreline into a submerged lattice, and sandbars rise and vanish with the rhythm of the day. In this border zone, depth changes without warning, and visibility collapses to only a few body lengths. The water tastes of silt and decaying leaves, and beneath the surface, the electrical noise of countless organisms hums through the gloom. It is here, in water that works against clarity and comfort, that the bull shark moves with confidence that others cannot afford. The bull shark is thick through the torso and blunt across the snout, a shape that does not suggest elegance, but rather controlled force. Its pectoral fins are broad and sturdy, stabilizing it in currents that reverse direction between tidal surges and river outflow. The body is dense with muscle, built less for long-distance cruising in blue water and more for sudden directional control in confined spaces. Its coloration fades from slate gray above to pale beneath, blending against the dim light filtered through sediment. In clear ocean water, such camouflage is effective. In brackish water, where contrast dissolves into brown gradients, it becomes nearly absolute. What distinguishes the bull shark in rivalry is not merely aggression, but physiological tolerance. Unlike most sharks, it can move freely between full-strength seawater and freshwater systems, entering rivers and even traveling far upstream. This ability is anchored in osmoregulation, the delicate control of salt and water balance across tissues. In marine water, sharks retain high concentrations of urea in their blood to prevent dehydration. In fresh water, that strategy would cause lethal swelling. The bull shark adjusts by reducing urea levels and increasing urine production, actively modulating internal chemistry to match external conditions. This is not a minor flexibility. It is a metabolic recalibration that allows the animal to occupy habitats many rivals can only sample briefly. Rivalry in these systems is intensified by confinement. In open ocean, a subordinate predator can descend into deeper water or veer into expansive blue to avoid escalation. In a river channel bordered by mangroves and sandbanks, options narrow quickly. Currents push from behind, roots block lateral movement, and shallow shelves limit depth. When two large predators converge over a feeding opportunity in such space, they are forced into proximity that would be avoidable elsewhere. The water itself compresses the confrontation. The bull shark's sensory system is tuned for these conditions. Vision is less reliable in turbid water, but electroreception through the ampullae of Lorenzini becomes decisive. Every heartbeat of a struggling fish, every contraction of muscle, emits faint electrical signals that the shark can detect even when sight fails. The lateral line registers vibrations transmitted through dense water, allowing the bull shark to interpret movement patterns from several meters away. In Rivalry, this sensory acuity provides early awareness. A competitor's shift in direction, even if invisible, sends pressure waves that ripple across the bull shark's skin. Uncertainty shrinks. Feeding sites in estuaries are rarely tidy. Schools of mullet or menhardens surge with incoming tides, their bodies flashing briefly before vanishing into clouded shallows. Carcasses from terrestrial animals swept into rivers drift unpredictably before lodging against debris. In some regions, seasonal fish migrations compress biomass into narrow channels where currents funnel prey into ambush points. The bull shark positions itself where current meets obstruction, exploiting hydrodynamic patterns that concentrate food. When another predator arrives, the contest is immediate because the resource is spatially limited. The thick-bodied build of the bull shark is not accidental. In shallow water, maneuverability requires torque rather than sheer speed. The caudal fin drives bursts of acceleration over short distances, but equally important is the ability to pivot and reorient in tight corridors. A leaner shark designed for pelagic pursuit might overshoot in these spaces. The bull shark can break, turn and lunge within the confines of a sandbar channel. When Rivalry unfolds, these micro-adjustments determine who holds the feeding position nearest to prey entry points. Interactions between bull sharks and other large sharks illustrate the advantage of habitat familiarity. Great whites occasionally venture into warmer coastal systems, and tiger sharks may patrol adjacent reefs. Yet extended residency in brackish water demands tolerance to fluctuating salinity and temperature. Freshwater inflow can drop salinity dramatically after heavy rains, creating physiological stress for species less adapted to change. The bull shark remains active. In Rivalry, this means it can sustain presence in conditions that gradually push competitors outward. The contest does not require dramatic combat. Environmental persistence becomes dominance. Reproduction adds another layer to this territorial intensity. Bull sharks often use river systems as nursery grounds. Females give birth in shallow, protected waters where juveniles gain partial refuge from larger marine predators. The presence of young increases defensive behavior among adults. A rival predator entering a nursery zone risks escalation beyond feeding competition. Bite scars observed on mature individuals suggest that intraspecific conflicts do occur, particularly when access to optimal birthing sites is limited. These sites combine appropriate salinity, depth and prey availability, and they are not abundant. Competition for such habitat shapes seasonal movement and aggression. Thermal variation in estuarine systems further influences Rivalry. Shallow water warms quickly under sun exposure, increasing metabolic rates in ectothermic predators. Elevated metabolism enhances digestion and activity, but also accelerates oxygen demand. Dissolved oxygen levels can fluctuate, especially in nutrient-rich water prone to algal blooms. A predator that can tolerate lower oxygen concentrations without immediate fatigue holds advantage. Bull sharks demonstrate resilience in these environments, maintaining activity levels where others may experience physiological strain. In Rivalry, endurance in marginal conditions extends feeding opportunity. Spatial awareness in murky water depends on more than senses. It relies on learned familiarity with terrain. Resident bull sharks develop mental maps of sandbars, submerged logs and current shifts. This knowledge informs ambush placement and escape routes. A transient competitor entering the same zone must navigate blind in comparison. During confrontation, the resident shark can maneuver towards shallow edges that constrain a larger rival or position itself where currents favor acceleration. Home field advantage is embedded not only in body design, but in spatial memory. The violence of bull-shark rivalry is often subtle yet consequential. Two sharks circling in brown water may never collide visibly, yet each pass tests nerve and intent. A sudden acceleration toward a rival's flank can force retreat without contact. The threat of a bite, backed by jaws capable of generating immense force relative to body size, carries weight. The bull shark's teeth, triangular and heavily serrated, are suited for gripping and tearing in close quarters. In confined channels, even a single deep laceration could impair swimming, making escalation risky for both sides. As with many apex predators, calculated restraint often prevails. Interactions with terrestrial influence introduce further complexity. Human activity in river mouths attracts fish through discarded bait or altered habitats, inadvertently concentrating prey. The bull shark's investigative nature brings it into these modified systems, increasing encounters not only with people, but with other predators drawn to the same disturbances. Nets, docks, and debris alter current flow and create ambush pockets. Rivalry unfolds around artificial structures that reshape hydrodynamics. The shark that adapts most effectively to these changes controls feeding corridors. Seasonal flooding expands river systems into temporary lagoons and wetlands, opening new foraging grounds. Bull sharks move into these ephemeral habitats, exploiting prey that become isolated as waters recede. Competitors that cannot tolerate reduced salinity are excluded. As floodwaters withdraw, the bull shark follows channels back toward the sea, carrying with it energy gained from a habitat few marine predators could access fully. This cycle reinforces dominance in border zones. In these murky arenas, ocean combat is intimate and compressed. Escape routes are truncated by geography, and visibility offers little warning. The bull shark's compact strength, sensory precision, and physiological flexibility converge into a decisive advantage. Rivalry is shaped not by grand open water breaches, but by sustained occupation of territory that others use cautiously. The water itself becomes an ally, confusing competitors while remaining navigable to the resident predator. As the tide reverses and sediment swirls through mangrove shadows, the outline of a bull shark fades into brown currents that seem to conceal everything. Yet beneath that opacity, the shark holds position near a narrow channel where fish must pass. A second large predator approaches from the seaward side, its silhouette uncertain in the haze. They are aware of each other through electric whispers and pressure tremors before shapes resolve. In clearer water, one might yield early to avoid injury. Here, confined by terrain and current, neither can easily disengage without forfeiting access. The contest is shaped by the river itself. The bull shark's dominance in these spaces is not simply aggression amplified. It is ecological alignment. Its body tolerates fluctuation, its senses interpret clutter, and its memory encodes shifting landscapes. Rivalry in border zones is vicious because the environment compresses choices and magnifies mistakes. For the bull shark, however, the same environment functions as reinforcement. Ocean combat here is fought not only between predators, but against the medium that surrounds them. In that struggle, the bull shark holds the advantage of belonging. The reef at night feels different from the day. The brightness of parrotfish and anthias fades into muted silhouettes, and the architecture of coral becomes a terrain of overhangs and cavities where shadows deepen into corridors. Crabs emerge from crevices to forage. Shrimp sweep their antennae across rock surfaces. Small fish hover uncertainly between shelter and open water. In this shifting mosaic of light and darkness, the octopus moves not as a fixed shape, but as a sequence of transformations, its body reconfiguring with each contact against stone. There is no rigid skeleton to define its outline, no predictable posture that announces its approach. In this environment, rivalry is not decided by size alone. It is decided by adaptability. An octopus begins by occupying a den. The den may be a hollowed coral head, a cavity beneath a rock slab, or even an abandoned shell pile left by another inhabitant. Unlike many reef dwellers that accept shelter as found, the octopus modifies it. With arms that contain independent neural clusters capable of local decision-making, it drags stones and debris to narrow the entrance, constructing a barricade that can be rearranged from within. Shell fragments are positioned to reduce visibility. The opening is calibrated just wide enough for the octopus to slip through while excluding larger intruders. This architectural adjustment transforms shelter into a defensive instrument. The octopus body is uniquely suited for confined environments. With no rigid internal skeleton and only a beak as a hard structure, it can compress itself through openings far smaller than its resting diameter. Muscular hydrostats within each arm allow precise bending, elongation, and twisting. Suckers line the underside of the arms, each capable of independent adhesion and tactile exploration. These suckers do not merely grip, they taste. Chemoreceptors embedded within them detect chemical traces left by prey or rivals. As an octopus explores its den and surrounding rocks, it gathers information through touch and taste simultaneously. Rivalry intensifies when another octopus approaches the same territory. Den sites are limited resources, offering protection from predators such as Moray eels, reef sharks, and larger fish. A vacant cavity rarely remains unclaimed for long. When two octopuses encounter one another, the confrontation unfolds in layers of assessment. Coloration shifts rapidly as chromatophores expand and contract under neural control, altering skin tone within fractions of a second. Papillae on the skin surface rise or flatten, changing texture from smooth to spiky. These displays communicate readiness without immediate contact. However, unlike species that rely solely on ritualized signaling, octopuses may escalate unpredictably. The intelligence of the octopus is distributed across its nervous system, with a substantial proportion of neurons residing in the arms themselves. This decentralization enables complex manipulation of objects during confrontation. An octopus defending a den may push additional stones into place as a rival approaches, reshaping the battlefield in real time. If contact occurs, arms interlace and suckers attempt to secure purchase. Unlike fish that bite and withdraw, octopuses engage in grappling, wrapping arms around opponents to gain leverage. The beak, located at the center of the arms, can deliver a decisive bite if access is achieved. Camouflage adds another dimension to rivalry. An octopus can blend seamlessly into rock by matching color, brightness, and even the polarization of reflected light. In doing so, it may conceal its true position within a den, waiting until a rival ventures too close before revealing itself. This element of surprise alters the calculus of approach. A rival cannot rely solely on sight to determine occupancy. It must probe cautiously, often extending an arm into a crevice to test for resistance. The defending octopus may seize that arm, initiating combat within the confines of stone. Predator-prey interactions intersect with rivalry over hunting access. Octopuses feed on crabs, mollusks, and small fish, using suction and the beak to crack shells or inject venom that immobilizes prey. Some species have been observed carrying coconut shells or other portable objects, assembling temporary shelters in open areas. This behavior illustrates foresight and problem-solving, rare among invertebrates. In contested zones where fixed dens are scarce, the ability to transport shelter expands territorial range. A rival lacking such ingenuity may be confined to exposed areas, increasing vulnerability. Thermoregulation in octopuses remains largely ectothermic, but their metabolic rates are influenced by activity levels and ambient temperature. In warmer water, digestion accelerates, and the need for frequent feeding increases. Rivalry may therefore intensify seasonally as prey abundance fluctuates. In cooler periods, reduced metabolic demand may allow more tolerance between neighboring individuals. However, breeding seasons disrupt this balance. Males seeking mates may intrude upon established dens, prompting defensive responses from resident females. The role of learning in octopus rivalry cannot be overstated. Laboratory and field observations reveal that octopuses can remember previous encounters and adjust strategies accordingly. An individual that has lost a confrontation may avoid direct escalation in future meetings, instead seeking alternative dens or exploiting temporal gaps when the dominant rival is away hunting. Such behavioral plasticity transforms competition into iterative strategy rather than fixed aggression. The microtopography of the reef amplifies these interactions. A narrow crevice can funnel an approaching octopus into a predictable path, but it also restricts maneuverability once inside. The defending individual may retreat deeper into the cavity, drawing the intruder into tighter space where arms entangle and escape routes vanish. The ability to expel a jet of water through the siphon provides short bursts of propulsion, enabling rapid retreat or repositioning. Ink release, though typically associated with predator evasion, may also be deployed during rivalry to obscure vision temporarily and reposition within a den. Rarely, interactions between octopuses and other species reveal collaborative dynamics that blur rivalry lines. In some reef systems, octopuses have been observed hunting alongside groupers, flushing prey from crevices that the fish cannot access. Such cooperation is situational and does not eliminate competition for shelter. Once feeding concludes, each species returns to its own spatial domain. The octopus retains its den as a strategic anchor point. The sensory world of the octopus extends beyond vision and touch. Its ability to detect subtle changes in water chemistry allows awareness of predators or conspecifics at a distance. When a rival octopus releases chemical cues associated with stress or aggression, nearby individuals may respond by increasing vigilance or altering coloration. Territorial boundaries thus form not only through physical contact, but through chemical landscapes. Inside a reef cavity at midnight, a resident octopus rests partially concealed behind a wall of shell fragments. A second octopus approaches along the outer rock face, arms extended cautiously. The resident shifts coloration to a darker hue, papillae rising to create a rough texture that mirrors the surrounding stone. The intruder tests the entrance, nudging a shell aside. From within, an arm emerges silently, gripping the shell and pulling it back into place. The message is clear without spectacle. When the intruder presses further, arms meet and entwine, suckers attaching with soft but unyielding force. The struggle is close and tactile, a contest of leverage rather than speed. Ocean combat in this context resembles strategic maneuvering more than brute confrontation. The octopus transforms space through manipulation, altering entrances and using objects as tools. Rivalry becomes a contest of foresight and adaptation. An opponent does not simply face a body, but a problem-solving system capable of reshaping terrain mid-conflict. Within rock and shadow, suction and camouflage replace open water pursuit. The battlefield is three-dimensional and constantly reconfigured. As dawn approaches and light filters faintly into reef crevices, the victorious octopus withdraws deeper into its den, resetting stones and debris to restore concealment. The rival retreats to search for alternative shelter, perhaps modifying a cavity of its own. The reef appears unchanged from above, yet within its architecture, territorial lines have shifted through silent grappling and subtle intelligence. In this realm, combat is not loud or fast. It is deliberate and adaptive. The octopus exemplifies a form of rivalry where mind and morphology converge, turning coral labyrinths into arenas of tactical precision. The seafloor appears still from a distance, a pale expanse of sand interrupted by coral outcrops and low ridges of rock. Yet closer inspection reveals a field of concealed motion. Rays pulse their pectoral fins beneath a veil of sediment. Flatfish lie flush against the substrate, their bodies patterned to match rippled sand. Crabs scuttle into burrows at the faintest shadow. This is benthic territory, where prey survive not through speed in open water, but through concealment and camouflage. In such terrain, rivalry among predators is decided less by brute force than by who can extract hidden life from apparent emptiness. Into this environment moves the hammerhead shark, its silhouette unmistakable even in filtered light, its head extended laterally into a broad cephalofoil that transforms the very geometry of perception. At first glance, the hammer-shaped head seems almost ornamental, an extravagant deviation from streamlined design. In reality, it represents a radical expansion of sensory architecture. The eyes sit at the far ends of the cephalofoil, widening the visual field and increasing binocular overlap directly beneath the head. More importantly, the surface of that flattened structure is lined densely with ampullae of Lorenzini, electroreceptors that detect minute electrical fields emitted by living organisms. In sand where a stingray has buried itself, muscle contractions continue, generating faint signals. A predator equipped with a conventional snout might pass overhead unaware. The hammerhead's sensory spread turns the seafloor into a readable grid. Rivalry in such zones unfolds as a contest of information. Multiple predators may patrol the same reef margin, especially during times when prey aggregate near cleaning stations or spawning sites. A reef can support only a finite extraction of energy before prey disperse or retreat deeper into cover. For a hammerhead, early detection of hidden prey reduces wasted passes over empty sand. Every efficient strike conserves energy. In contrast, a rival lacking equivalent sensory resolution may expend time investigating false leads, raising sediment clouds that obscure vision further. In this way, advantage accumulates quietly. The hammerhead's body complements its head in subtle ways. Although not as massively built as some large sharks, it possesses a powerful caudal fin and a streamlined torso that allows swift lateral sweeps over the substrate. When it detects the electrical signature of a buried ray, it pivots sharply, pressing the cephalofoil down to pin the prey against sand before delivering a bite. This behavior is not merely mechanical. It reveals how morphology shapes strategy. The expanded head functions as both sensor array and physical tool, stabilizing the shark during rapid maneuvers in close quarters. In Rivalry, this precision means that when two predators approach the same patch of seafloor, the hammerhead may locate and secure prey before the other even confirms its presence. Electroreception is not the only advantage embedded in the cephalofoil. The wide head improves lift and maneuverability at low speeds, acting almost like a hydrofoil that enhances control during tight turns. In cluttered reef environments, where coral heads rise unpredictably and channels narrow without warning, fine-scale steering prevents collision and reduces noise that might alert prey. A shark that navigates more quietly maintains the element of surprise. When competitors overlap in space, stealth becomes competitive leverage. Schooling behavior among certain hammerhead species adds another dimension to rivalry. In some tropical regions, large aggregations form near seamounts and island drop-offs. During daylight, these schools cruise in coordinated arcs, possibly as a strategy to reduce individual predation risk or to position themselves advantageously for nocturnal feeding. At dusk, individuals disperse to hunt along reef slopes and sandy plains. Within these aggregations, social hierarchy may influence access to prime departure routes or favored hunting corridors. Competition does not always manifest in direct combat. It can be expressed in spatial positioning within the school. The benthic prey targeted by hammerheads are themselves equipped with defensive adaptations. Stingrays possess venomous spines capable of inflicting severe injury. Flatfish rely on camouflage and sudden bursts of speed. Octopuses manipulate texture and color to blend into rock crevices. When a hammerhead locates such prey, the strike must be decisive. A poorly executed attack could result in envenomation or lost opportunity. In rivalry scenarios where another predator shadows nearby, hesitation is costly. The shark that commits first with accurate targeting claims the meal. The precision-driven rivalry of hammerheads extends to overlap with other specialized predators. For example, reef sharks and tiger sharks may also patrol sandy margins for buried prey. However, without the same breadth of electroreceptive surface area, their detection radius may be narrower. The hammerhead's sensory field effectively enlarges the search grid, allowing it to map hidden life across wider swaths of seafloor in a single pass. In ecological terms, it converts information into energy more efficiently. This does not eliminate competition, but it shifts probability. Thermoregulation in hammerheads is largely ectothermic, tying activity levels to ambient water temperature. In warm tropical currents, metabolic rates support extended patrols along reefs and seamounts. However, as temperature drops, digestion slows and muscle performance declines. Seasonal movements reflect this constraint. Hammerheads often migrate along continental shelves or island chains to track favorable thermal conditions and prey distributions. Rivalry intensifies where these migration routes converge, especially near underwater topography that concentrates fish schools and rays. Seamounts create upwelling currents that bring nutrient-rich water toward the surface, stimulating plankton growth and cascading up the food web. Hammerheads gather in these regions not merely for feeding, but as staging grounds before dispersing at night. When multiple large predators exploit the same upwelling system, competition revolves around timing and detection. A hammerhead that leaves the aggregation slightly earlier at dusk may intercept prey migrating off the reef before rivals arrive. Combat, in this context, is temporal. The cephalofoil also enhances depth perception when scanning the substrate. By separating the eyes laterally, hammerheads increase stereoscopic overlap beneath the head, improving judgment of distance during downward strikes. This anatomical configuration may appear exaggerated, yet in the context of prey concealed within centimeters of sand, accurate depth calculation determines success. A misjudged bite may disturb sediment without capturing the ray, alerting competitors to opportunity. Rivalry among hammerheads themselves can be subtle but real. Large females often dominate access to preferred resting zones during the day, while males and smaller individuals occupy peripheral positions. Scar patterns indicate occasional intraspecific aggression, especially during mating periods. However, direct conflict is typically limited. The cost of injury in open ocean remains high, and precision hunters rely on intact sensory structures. Damage to the cephalofoil could impair detection capability dramatically, altering feeding efficiency. Thus, restraint is evolutionarily favored. Predator-prey interactions in benthic systems illustrate how combat can be resolved before visible contact. As a hammerhead glides over sand, minute electrical impulses from hidden prey register across its head. The shark subtly adjusts course, reducing speed to avoid creating turbulence that might disperse scent cues. Beneath it, a ray may sense pressure waves and attempt to swim, but the hammerhead's wide head pins it instantly. A rival shark arriving moments later encounters only disturbed sediment. The advantage lay not in strength but in earlier awareness. Environmental variability challenges this precision. Heavy surf can churn sand into opaque clouds, masking electrical signals with background noise. Anthropogenic disturbances such as trawling alter seafloor composition and reduce benthic prey abundance. In degraded habitats, hammerheads may expend greater energy scanning sparse terrain, narrowing the margin for competitive success. Rival predators adapted to pelagic feeding may shift into these zones temporarily, intensifying overlap. The hammerhead's design underscores a broader principle in ocean combat. Information is often more decisive than raw force. A predator that reads the environment with higher resolution can act sooner, conserve energy, and avoid unnecessary confrontation. In contested waters, where prey density fluctuates and competitors overlap unpredictably, the shark that interprets the substrate most effectively maintains feeding rights. As evening currents sweep along a reef shelf, silhouettes drift from a daytime aggregation near a seamount. The hammerheads descend toward sandy plains where rays settle for the night. In the dim light, their heads sweep side to side in deliberate arcs, scanning a landscape invisible to unassisted vision. Nearby, another large predator cruises the same margin, unaware that the field has already been mapped by a broader sensor array. When the hammerhead suddenly pivots and presses its head downward, a burst of sand erupts, followed by the flash of a struggling ray. The rival circles, arriving too late to contest. Ocean rivalry in this context is not theatrical. It is quiet and analytical, shaped by anatomical innovation that converts sensory spread into feeding efficiency. The hammerhead shark demonstrates that in marine ecosystems, dominance often belongs to those who interpret signals first and commit with precision. Combat is won before impact, and the cephalofoil, far from ornamental, becomes the instrument through which the benthic world yields its hidden life. The seabed appears inert. A field of broken coral fragments lies scattered across sand that shifts with each passing surge. Patches of algae cling to rock. Sea urchins wedge themselves into depressions, and small gobies hover just above the substrate before darting back into holes. There is no patrol, no silhouette cutting through blue water, no extended fin or visible threat. The bottom seems unclaimed. Yet within this irregular mosaic of stone and sponge rests an animal whose strategy is to erase itself entirely from the visual field, turning territory into an ambush site so complete that even experienced predators move across it unaware. The stonefish does not compete by asserting presence. It competes by denying perception. At close range, the outline becomes clearer only after prolonged inspection. A slight asymmetry in the rubble. A pair of eyes set high and forward, breaking the line of what appeared to be a rock. The body is thick and lumpy, covered in skin flaps and ridges that trap sediment and algae, enhancing camouflage. Unlike streamlined hunters that depend on motion, the stonefish is built for stillness. Its pectoral fins are broad and fan-like, allowing it to settle into the substrate with stability. The dorsal surface bristles with spines, each connected to venom glands capable of delivering one of the most potent venoms among fishes. Yet those spines are not raised in warning. They lie embedded within the texture of the animal, indistinguishable from the irregular coral fragments around it. Rivalry in such terrain begins with occupancy. A patch of bottom that hosts frequent traffic from small crustaceans and juvenile fish becomes valuable real estate. Currents deposit organic debris there, drawing scavengers. Grazing fish pass over it repeatedly, nibbling at algae and dislodging invertebrates. For a stonefish, choosing the right patch is critical. It does not roam widely in search of prey. It waits. Energy conservation defines its existence. With metabolic demands kept low through minimal movement, it can remain motionless for extended periods, relying on camouflage to prevent detection by both prey and predators. Another benthic predator entering the same zone may not recognize the competition until contact occurs. A goatfish, probing sand with its barbels, may brush against what it perceives as stone. A small shark, cruising close to the bottom, may pass inches above the stonefish's dorsal spines. In such interactions, rivalry is not announced through displays or chase. It is enforced through consequence. The stonefish's venom is delivered when pressure depresses the dorsal spines, injecting toxins that disrupt neuromuscular transmission and cause intense pain. For a predator accustomed to negotiating space visually, this hidden defense reshapes behavior rapidly. The ecological implications of such concealed territory are profound. Many reef systems are crowded with predators that rely on vision to assess risk and opportunity. The stonefish undermines that sensory dominance by becoming part of the background. Prey fish that have evolved to scan for moving shapes may pass directly in front of its mouth without alarm. When the strike occurs, it is powered by a rapid expansion of the buccal cavity, generating suction that draws water and prey inward in a fraction of a second. The stonefish does not chase. It converts proximity into capture. Competition with other ambush predators introduces further complexity. Flatheads and scorpionfish also employ camouflage and bottom-dwelling strategies. However, the stonefish's degree of resemblance to its environment is exceptional. Skin appendages mimic encrusting organisms, and coloration adjusts subtly to match surrounding tones. In contested patches, the predator that most completely dissolves into terrain secures the greater advantage. A rival ambusher might settle nearby, but if its outline remains detectable to prey, feeding efficiency drops. The stonefish's invisibility effectively monopolizes the microhabitat. Venom, though primarily defensive, indirectly influences rivalry. A predator that has experienced envenomation from a stonefish may avoid similar substrate types thereafter, altering its foraging routes. Such learned avoidance expands the stonefish's effective territory without physical confrontation. Even species capable of preying on stonefish must approach cautiously, recognizing the risk embedded in dorsal spines. In this way, venom extends influence beyond immediate contact. Thermoregulation in stonefish aligns with their sedentary lifestyle. As ectotherms inhabiting shallow tropical waters, their body temperature mirrors ambient conditions. In hot, sunlit shallows, metabolic rates rise, but because movement remains minimal, energy expenditure stays controlled. During cooler periods or at night, the stonefish may shift slightly within its depression to maintain optimal orientation toward passing prey. These micro-adjustments are subtle, measured in centimeters rather than meters. One of the more remarkable aspects of stonefish biology is their ability to survive out of water for short periods, aided by moist skin and tolerance to fluctuating oxygen levels. In intertidal zones, where water recedes during low tide, stonefish may remain partially exposed beneath algae mats. Such tolerance allows occupation of niches inaccessible to many other predators. Rivalry in these marginal habitats intensifies because space is even more limited. A stonefish embedded within a tide pool effectively claims the central ambush point, while other predators must remain at the periphery. Predator-prey dynamics reveal how the stonefish exploits inattentiveness. Small fish that forage in groups rely on collective vigilance, scanning for motion. Because the stonefish does not move, it bypasses this detection system. Its upward-facing mouth aligns with the path of fish moving along the bottom. When prey enter the strike zone, the jaws open and close in an explosive motion that lasts less than the blink of an eye. Suction feeding draws the fish inward before it can reverse direction. The surrounding substrate barely shifts. In rivalry scenarios where multiple predators share a feeding patch, the stonefish's lack of visible claim creates a peculiar asymmetry. Another predator may patrol the same ground repeatedly, unaware that prey numbers are declining due to unseen predation. The patrol may increase intensity, searching for visible competition. Meanwhile, the stonefish continues its quiet extraction of passing organisms. The contest becomes lopsided, not because of physical dominance, but because one participant operates outside the perceptual framework of the other. Scar patterns on some stonefish suggest occasional encounters with larger predators. Damage to dorsal spines can occur if a predator attempts to bite what it mistakes for rock. Yet such events are rare relative to the number of successful ambushes. The evolutionary arms race here favors concealment over confrontation. Natural selection has refined the stonefish's morphology to an extreme degree, reducing the need for movement or display. Environmental change can disrupt this delicate strategy. Coral bleaching events alter substrate coloration, potentially reducing camouflage effectiveness. Sediment runoff from coastal development may bury preferred ambush sites or shift prey distributions. In degraded habitats, stonefish may relocate short distances, selecting new patches where resemblance to terrain is restored. Their limited mobility underscores the importance of microhabitat stability. The chemical ecology of venom also influences reef interactions. While envenomation deters predators, some species have developed partial resistance. Certain large sharks and rays appear capable of consuming venomous fishes without significant harm, suggesting co-evolutionary dynamics. In such cases, the stonefish's camouflage remains its primary defense. Even a predator resistant to venom must first detect the animal to target it. As dusk settles over the reef flat, plankton rise and juvenile fish drift lower toward the substrate to forage. A patch of rubble near a coral bommy remains indistinguishable from its surroundings. A small wrasse descends to pick at algae between stones. The stonefish waits, eyes barely protruding above sediment. There is no warning posture, no flared fin. The strike is a sudden implosion of space as the mouth expands and the wrasse vanishes. Nearby, a passing predator continues on its route, unaware that territory has been claimed beneath its path. Ocean combat in this realm is profoundly asymmetric. One competitor participates openly as an animal, moving, scanning, reacting. The other participates as disguised terrain, enforcing boundaries through invisibility and venom-backed consequence. The stonefish exemplifies a form of rivalry where fairness is irrelevant. Control of habitat is achieved not by strength or speed, but by erasing the line between body and bottom. In the complex mosaic of coral and sand, where perception guides survival, the predator that cannot be seen holds the most dangerous advantage of all. The reef at midday appears layered in light, with sunbeams breaking into columns that sway gently with surface ripples. Hard corals rise in intricate scaffolds, soft corals pulse with filtered current, and between them stretch small clearings of sand where detritus gathers and plankton settle. Yet within this mosaic, certain points glow with restless movement. A cluster of tentacles, translucent and tipped with faintly colored ends, extends outward from a crevice. Nestled among them flicker flashes of orange and white, bodies no longer than a human finger weaving with practiced precision between stinging arms. The anemone is rooted, armed, and chemically defended. The clownfish is small, alert, and astonishingly bold. Together they occupy a patch of reef that functions less like shelter and more like a fortress. The clownfish does not possess venom, crushing jaws, or intimidating size. Its advantage begins with biology. A layer of specialized mucus coats its skin, preventing the discharge of the anemone's nematocysts. The tentacles that would paralyze a grazing fish or repel a probing predator instead become protective walls. This immunity is not absolute at birth. Juvenile clownfish undergo a process of acclimation, gently brushing against tentacles and gradually incorporating chemical signatures that prevent triggering the stinging cells. Through this adaptation, the fish transforms an otherwise lethal organism into a living shield. Rivalry in this system centers on possession of that shield. Anemones are limited resources on a reef, often spaced irregularly according to light, substrate stability, and water flow. Each host can support only a small social group of clownfish, typically a dominant breeding pair and several subordinate juveniles arranged in strict hierarchy. The largest individual becomes the breeding female, the next largest the male, and smaller fish remain non-breeding subordinates. If the female dies, the male undergoes sex change, transforming physiologically and behaviorally into a new breeding female. This protandrous hermaphroditism ensures continuity of reproduction, but also intensifies competition within and between groups. Territorial enforcement begins with size-based dominance. The leading female patrols the perimeter of the anemone, darting outward in short bursts to chase intruders. The male follows closely, reinforcing boundaries. Juveniles remain near tentacles, retreating quickly at signs of threat. When a rival clownfish from a neighboring anemone approaches, the interaction escalates rapidly. Fins flare, bodies angle head down in submission or head up in challenge, and rapid circling may occur just beyond the reach of tentacles. Unlike large predators that clash over carcasses or corridors, clownfish engage in concentrated skirmishes measured in centimeters. The asymmetry of these encounters defines their outcome. The resident fish can retreat into tentacles at any moment, immune to the sting. The intruder must calculate each advance carefully, knowing that a misstep into tentacle range could result in envenomation. Even if the sting is not fatal, it can cause sufficient pain or disorientation to end the contest. The anemone thus multiplies the resident's strength. Combat is spatially skewed from the outset. Ecologically, this alliance influences surrounding reef dynamics. Clownfish defend the anemone vigorously, driving away butterfly fish and other species that might nip at tentacles. Their movement among the tentacles improves water circulation, increasing oxygen flow and aiding waste removal. The fish also deposit nutrient-rich waste that benefits the anemone's symbiotic algae. In return, the anemone's tentacles deter predators such as larger wrasses and groupers. This mutualism creates a microhabitat that supports both species more effectively than either could alone. Territorial rivalry intensifies during breeding cycles. Clownfish lay adhesive eggs on a flat rock surface near the base of the anemone, often cleared meticulously by the male. He tends the clutch, fanning it with pectoral fins to oxygenate embryos and remove debris. During this period, defensive behavior escalates sharply. Intruding fish, even though significantly larger, are confronted repeatedly and nipped until they withdraw. The small size of the clownfish belies the ferocity of its territorial response. The presence of eggs transforms a patch of reef into a defended stronghold. Predator-prey interactions further illustrate this asymmetry. A curious damselfish approaching the anemone may be chased aggressively by the clownfish before it can investigate. If a larger predator approaches, the clownfish retreat briefly into tentacles, emerging moments later to resume patrol once danger passes. The rival perceives a zone that appears open, yet is effectively controlled. This illusion of openness hides a highly regulated space. Thermoregulation in shallow reef environments can fluctuate with tide and sunlight, influencing metabolic rates and reproductive timing. Clownfish are ectothermic, and warmer water accelerates development of eggs, shortening incubation periods. However, elevated temperatures can also stress both fish and anemone, increasing susceptibility to bleaching events that expel symbiotic algae. In such conditions, rivalry over healthy host anemones becomes even more critical, as bleached or weakened hosts offer reduced protection. The hierarchical structure within a single anemone adds an internal layer of rivalry. Subordinate fish maintain smaller body size through behavioral suppression. If a subordinate grows too quickly, the dominant female may harass it, enforcing size hierarchy. This regulation ensures clear succession pathways, but also creates tension. When an opportunity arises, such as the death of the breeding female, the dominant male changes sex and assumes control. Subordinates then compete for advancement in rank. The struggle is not only external, but deeply social. The mechanics of defense rely on agility and precise knowledge of space. The clownfish memorizes the tentacle arrangement and can dart through gaps without contact. An intruder unfamiliar with this layout hesitates at the boundary. That hesitation is exploited. Quick lunges, nips at fins, and repeated charges push the rival back toward neutral ground. The resident never ventures too far from the protective radius, maintaining access to sanctuary at all times. Seasonal shifts in plankton availability influence feeding patterns and energy reserves. During periods of abundance, clownfish may expand patrol zones slightly beyond the immediate anemone to capture drifting zooplankton. During scarcity, they remain closer to tentacles, conserving energy and reducing exposure. Rivalry adjusts accordingly, intensifying when food competition overlaps with breeding defense. The irony of clownfish combat lies in perception. From a distance, the fish appear decorative and diminutive against the backdrop of coral and tentacles. Yet their aggression is disproportionate to size. Observers have documented clownfish repeatedly charging at divers' masks or larger fish that venture too near their host. The behavior is not reckless but calculated. The defender knows exactly how far it can advance before retreating to safety. As afternoon currents shift, a neighboring clownfish pair ventures closer than usual, perhaps scouting for expansion or testing boundaries. The resident female darts forward immediately, body vibrating in rapid display. The intruder responds in kind, but neither commits to full advance. The invisible line around the anemone is respected, defined not by rock, but by repeated enforcement. After several tense passes, the intruders withdraw to their own host, the boundary reaffirmed without injury. Ocean combat at this scale reveals a principle that echoes across ecosystems. Strength is amplified by place. The clownfish's victory in rivalry depends not on physical dominance, but on intimate knowledge of its defended zone and on the biological weaponry of its host. Every territorial clash begins asymmetrically because only one participant can navigate safely within the tentacles. The reef may appear to favor larger predators and faster hunters, yet within this small radius of stinging arms, the smallest defender often prevails. The continental shelf at night does not resemble the bright, intricate tapestry of a coral reef. It is darker, colder, and structured by rock ledges, boulder fields, and the scattered remains of shells and skeletal fragments that accumulate along the seafloor. Kelp forests sway above in temperate waters, their holdfasts gripping stone like tangled fists. In deeper channels, the substrate shifts to gravel and compacted sediment punctuated by fissures carved by ancient currents. Every crack in this terrain is potential shelter, and every shelter is political real estate. Within these crevices, armored bodies wait with antennae extended, reading the darkness for motion and intrusion. The lobster does not patrol wide water. It governs a doorway. A lobster's body is segmented and encased in a rigid exoskeleton composed primarily of chitin reinforced with calcium carbonate. This armor is not decorative, it is structural defense against crushing jaws and the abrasive surfaces of rock. The cephalothorax houses powerful muscles that operate the claws, or chelae, which differ subtly in function. In many species, one claw is larger and built for crushing, capable of generating immense force relative to body size, while the other is more slender and adapted for slicing or grasping. This asymmetry reflects specialization in both feeding and combat. The claws are not symbolic threats. They are mechanical instruments designed to apply pressure until something yields. Shelter is the axis around which lobster rivalry turns. Crevices offer protection from predators such as cod, octopus, and larger crustaceans. They buffer temperature fluctuations and reduce exposure to currents that might increase metabolic demand. A lobster occupying a deep fissure with a narrow entrance effectively controls a defensible checkpoint. Antennae extend outward from the hole like sensor arrays, detecting vibrations and chemical cues carried by water. The slightest disturbance triggers heightened readiness. Rivalry begins when another lobster approaches within antenna range. Unlike swift pelagic confrontations, Lobster contests unfold in slow escalation. Antennae lash and tap, testing proximity. Posture shifts as claws rise and open. The armored carapaces click faintly against stone. Chemical communication also plays a role. Lobsters release urine from specialized glands near the base of the antennae, broadcasting information about size and condition. These signals can preempt violence by clarifying dominance. Yet when signals fail to deter, claws engage. The mechanical advantage of the crusher claw is profound. When closed, its surfaces interlock with ridged teeth that distribute force evenly across a target. In feeding, this allows the lobster to crack open mussels and snails that many predators cannot access. In Rivalry, the same force can fracture an opponent's claw or damage the exoskeleton. The stakes are high. A broken limb may regenerate after molting, but the period before molting leaves the lobster vulnerable. The cost of injury shapes behavior. Dominance displays are often sufficient to avoid direct damage. Molting introduces a cyclical vulnerability into this system. As lobsters grow, they shed their exoskeleton in a process called ecdysis. Immediately after molting, the new shell is soft, offering little protection. During this window, the lobster retreats into shelter and reduces movement. Rivalry is suspended in favor of concealment. A lobster emerging prematurely into contested space risks fatal injury. Thus, timing of molting is influenced by environmental factors such as temperature and food availability, which in turn affect the broader rhythm of territorial disputes. Thermoregulation in lobsters is largely dependent on ambient water temperature, yet metabolic rates respond to seasonal shifts. In colder waters, activity decreases and feeding windows shorten. During warmer periods, metabolic demand rises, increasing the frequency of foraging excursions beyond shelter. Rivalry intensifies during these active seasons as lobsters encounter one another more frequently along the seabed. The tactile nature of lobster rivalry reflects the constraints of their environment. Vision is limited in turbid or dim water, especially at night when many species are most active. Instead, mechanoreceptors in antennae and sensory hairs on the exoskeleton detect pressure waves and contact. Combat becomes a matter of feel. Claws grasp, push, and twist in confined space. If one lobster secures a hold on a rival's limb, it may apply crushing force until the opponent retreats or sacrifices the limb entirely through autotomy, a defensive mechanism in which a limb is deliberately detached to escape. Predator-prey interactions intersect with rivalry in complex ways. A lobster defending a crevice must remain alert not only to conspecific challengers, but also to predatory fish and octopus capable of extracting it from shelter. Octopus arms, equipped with suction and flexible reach, can probe into crevices, seeking to grasp and immobilize the lobster. In such encounters, the lobster's claws are its primary defense, striking at the probing arm and attempting to sever it. The confined battlefield favors the one who can hold position longest. Shelter selection also involves ecological foresight. Crevices near feeding grounds reduce exposure during nightly foraging. Lobsters often venture out under cover of darkness to scavenge and hunt small invertebrates. Upon returning, they may encounter a rival occupying their former hole. In such cases, the confrontation is immediate and personal. There is no broad territory to retreat into, only the contested cavity. Chemical communication further complicates rivalry. Lobsters can assess the recent feeding success and health of a rival through urine signals, influencing decisions to escalate or withdraw. A well-fed, robust individual may deter challengers through scent alone. Conversely, a lobster weakened by molting or limited food may emit signals that attract aggression. These invisible cues overlay the physical contest with a layer of information exchange. In some regions, dense populations of lobsters form communal shelters during daylight, sharing large rock crevices with multiple individuals stacked in layers. Hierarchies within these groups determine proximity to the safest interior positions. Peripheral individuals are more exposed to predators and more likely to encounter challengers first. Dominance is maintained through repeated tactile interactions that reinforce status without constant injury. Seasonal migrations add another dimension. In colder climates, certain lobster species undertake mass movements to deeper waters as temperatures drop. During these migrations, Individuals travel in single-file lines across the seabed, reducing drag and possibly benefiting from hydrodynamic drafting. Rivalry subsides temporarily during these collective movements, replaced by shared vulnerability. Once new shelters are reached, territorial enforcement resumes. The rawness of lobster combat is amplified by its proximity. When two large individuals lock claws at the entrance of a hole, the interaction is measured in centimeters. The crusher claw presses inward, testing resistance. The opponent braces against rock, pushing back with equal force. The friction of exoskeleton against stone creates faint grinding sounds beneath the water. Neither animal retreats easily because retreat forfeits access to shelter and feeding rights. Eventually, one yields, backing away with antennae lowered. The victor remains, claws raised slightly in residual tension. Irony lies in the fact that such brutal enforcement underpins a stable distribution of individuals across the seabed. Through repeated close-quarters contests, lobsters establish spacing that reduces long-term conflict. Each hole becomes a defined stronghold, and neighbors learn the boundaries through experience. This decentralized political system maintains order in a habitat where open water offers little refuge. As dawn approaches and light filters faintly into deeper water, a lobster remains stationed at its crevice entrance. Its antennae sweep outward, sampling the current for scent. A younger lobster ventures too close, perhaps seeking unclaimed shelter. The elder shifts forward, claws opening in deliberate warning. Contact follows, brief but forceful. The younger retreats, seeking a less defended fisher. The exchange lasts seconds, yet the outcome shapes occupancy for days or weeks. Ocean combat at this scale is tactile and unadorned. There is no spectacle beyond the grinding of armor and the decisive closing of claws. Lobsters embody territorial enforcement reduced to its most direct form. Hard shell meets hard shell, and the engineering of claws resolves disputes in confined stone corridors. Within the cold, shadowed landscape of the seafloor, control is measured not by grandeur, but by who can hold the hole and withstand the pressure long enough for the rival to step back into darkness. The reef flat at mid-tide seems almost peaceful from above. Coral heads rise like small fortresses from a sandy plain, and between them lie scattered shells, fragments of carbonate rubble, and the occasional discarded exoskeleton of a crab. Yet within this quiet architecture, a system of tunnels threads through rock and sediment, each burrow representing a guarded checkpoint in a microscopic battlefield. At the entrance of one such tunnel, a pair of stalked eyes pivots independently, scanning the surroundings with movements so precise that even drifting particles are registered. The mantis shrimp does not patrol expanses of ocean. It defends a doorway. The burrow is more than shelter. It is a controlled perimeter. Dug into sand beneath coral slabs or carved into soft substrate, the tunnel often has multiple exits, but a primary entrance that opens onto a feeding corridor. From within, the mantis shrimp can assess traffic in both directions while keeping most of its body protected. Only the anterior region, including the raptorial appendages and eyes, remains near the threshold. This spatial arrangement is not accidental. It maximizes defense while minimizing exposure. The body of a mantis shrimp appears modest in size, often no longer than a human hand, yet it houses one of the most formidable mechanical systems in the ocean. The raptorial appendages, folded beneath the thorax when at rest, are powered by a saddle-shaped structure composed of highly mineralized exoskeletal material that stores elastic energy. Muscles contract slowly to load this structure, bending it like a spring. When released, the appendage accelerates with extraordinary speed, striking prey or rival with such force that it can fracture shells or even crack aquarium glass. The strike occurs so rapidly that it generates cavitation bubbles, tiny vapor pockets that collapse with additional shock waves. In this confined world, force is concentrated. Rivalry around a mantis shrimp burrow is brutally simple. A neighboring shrimp, a probing crab, or an inquisitive fish that ventures too close risks immediate impact. There is no ritualized circling or extended negotiation. The burrow entrance acts as a threshold, and crossing it without invitation triggers response. The mantis shrimp does not chase far. It enforces proximity with violence that discourages repetition. Over time, this enforcement establishes a clear boundary in the minds of neighboring animals. The visual system of mantis shrimp adds a further dimension to this checkpoint defense. Their compound eyes contain multiple types of photoreceptors capable of detecting a broad spectrum of wavelengths, including ultraviolet light and polarized light. Each eye moves independently, scanning in trinocular fashion that allows depth perception with a single eye. This sensory sophistication enables rapid discrimination between prey, rival, and non-threatening organism. Movement patterns are analyzed almost instantly. A fish passing by at a distance may be ignored, while a crab approaching the burrow entrance triggers muscular loading of the raptorial appendage. Thermoregulation in shallow reef habitats can fluctuate with tides and sun exposure. Mantis shrimp often inhabit intertidal zones where temperature shifts are pronounced. Their burrows provide thermal buffering, maintaining more stable conditions than exposed substrate. Control of such a burrow therefore offers physiological advantage in addition to feeding access. Rivalry intensifies in regions where suitable substrate for burrowing is limited. A mantis shrimp displaced from its tunnel faces exposure not only to predators, but also to thermal stress and fluctuating salinity. Predator-prey interactions in this microcosm reveal the efficiency of the mantis shrimp's design. When a snail or crab approaches within range, the appendage unfolds in a flash, delivering a blow that fractures shell or carapace. The prey is dragged into the burrow and consumed at leisure. This ability to break hard armor expands dietary range, allowing exploitation of resources inaccessible to many similarly sized predators. In contested environments where multiple species compete for crustaceans and mollusks, such capacity translates directly into territorial leverage. Intraspecific rivalry between mantis shrimp is particularly intense. When two individuals contest adjacent burrows, they may engage in ritualized displays that include spreading appendages and raising body posture. However, if one crosses into the other's entrance zone, strikes may follow. Damage from these encounters can be severe. Broken appendages or cracked carapaces impair future defense. Thus, even among these formidable crustaceans, escalation carries high cost. The existence of ritualized warning behaviors suggests an evolutionary pressure to resolve conflict without full-force impact whenever possible. The hydrodynamics within a burrow amplify the mantis shrimp's advantage. A narrow tunnel restricts approach vectors, forcing an intruder to align directly with the entrance. This alignment simplifies targeting. The defender, anchored within its tunnel, requires minimal repositioning to deliver a blow. In open water, maneuverability might favor larger predators. At a burrow entrance, geometry favors the resident. Some species of mantis shrimp exhibit pair bonding, with male and female sharing a burrow for extended periods. In such cases, rivalry involves defense of both territory and reproductive investment. A rival attempting to displace one partner threatens not only feeding access, but breeding opportunity. Cooperative defense may occur, with both individuals taking turns monitoring the entrance. This social dimension intensifies territoriality. The mechanical performance of the strike reveals deeper biological innovation. The saddle structure that stores elastic energy functions analogously to a crossbow, releasing force far exceeding what muscle alone could generate in the same time frame. The cavitation bubble formed during the strike adds a secondary impact, effectively doubling the damage inflicted. This phenomenon underscores how small-scale physics shapes ecological dominance. The mantis shrimp leverages biomechanical engineering to offset its modest size. Environmental disturbance can alter the distribution of mantis shrimp. Storm events that shift sand or overturn coral slabs may collapse burrows, forcing individuals to relocate. During such periods, encounters increase as displaced shrimp search for new territory. Competition spikes temporarily, and checkpoint violence becomes more frequent. Once substrate stabilizes, territories re-establish along new boundaries. The visual acuity of mantis shrimp also influences predator avoidance. Larger fish that might prey upon them must approach carefully, aware of the potential strike. Some predators learn to flip mantis shrimp upside down before attempting to consume them, neutralizing the appendages temporarily. This arms race illustrates the dynamic nature of rivalry beyond conspecifics. As twilight settles over the reef flat, plankton rise and small crustaceans emerge from hiding. At the mouth of a burrow, A mantis shrimp's eyes track a passing crab. The appendages load silently. A rival shrimp, displaced from a nearby tunnel after a storm, approaches cautiously along the sand. The resident shifts orientation slightly, aligning the burrow entrance with the intruder's path. The intruder pauses, sensing risk. A sudden flicker of movement, a barely audible snap beneath the water, and sand erupts at the entrance as the strike lands. The intruder recoils, retreating beyond range. No prolonged fight follows. The checkpoint remains secure. Ocean combat at this scale is defined not by grandeur, but by disproportionate force concentrated at a doorway. The mantis shrimp embodies a principle that reverberates across ecosystems. Control of a strategic microhabitat can outweigh physical size. Its violence is localized yet decisive, transforming a small burrow into a fortified boundary. In a world of towering predators and sweeping migrations, this crustacean demonstrates that territorial dominance can emerge from engineering and perception as much as mass. Within the coral rubble, behind a narrow entrance, combat is settled in the blink of an eye, and scale becomes irrelevant when force is compressed into a single, unstoppable strike. The tide has withdrawn from the mudflat, leaving behind a shallow sheet of water that glints in scattered sunlight and mirrors the mangrove roots rising like stilts from the sediment. The substrate here is not coral, but silt and fine sand, churned by shrimp burrows and crab tracks. Visibility is often reduced by suspended particles, and every step across the bottom releases clouds that linger in the warm, brackish water. This is not the clear theatrical reef where colors announce allegiance and spines broadcast threat. It is a low-contrast landscape where outlines blur quickly and categories matter more than detail. In this shifting estuarine arena, rivalry does not begin with force. It begins with interpretation. From a distance, what appears to be a flat fish gliding low over the mud suddenly ripples upward into something taller and more angular. The body elongates. Arms gather and then stretch outward. The pattern across the skin shifts from mottled sand tones to bold bands that echo the high-contrast stripes of a venomous fish. Then, as if reconsidering its role in the unfolding encounter, the animal compresses again, flattening itself against the bottom with arms tucked in a posture indistinguishable from a toxic soul. This is not a sequence of separate animals. It is a single mimic octopus, reconfiguring identity in real time. The mimic octopus inhabits coastal shallows of the Indo-Pacific, often in silty environments where predators and competitors rely heavily on quick visual categorization to decide whether to approach, attack, or withdraw. Its body plan, like all octopuses, is soft and flexible, lacking internal bones that would restrict shape. Chromatophores embedded in the skin expand and contract under direct neural control, allowing rapid color changes. Beneath these lie iridophores and leucophores that manipulate light reflection and brightness. Together, these systems create a dynamic canvas capable of projecting patterns that resemble other species with uncanny fidelity. Yet mimicry in this context is not decorative. It is strategic misinformation. In rivalry, the mimic octopus faces not only predators, but also other bottom-dwelling hunters competing for the same crustaceans, gobies, and small fish. Mudflats are rich but unpredictable feeding grounds. Burrowing prey can vanish into sediment within seconds. Timing and proximity determine success. When a competing predator approaches, such as a territorial fish or small shark, the mimic octopus does not respond as a vulnerable cephalopod might. Instead, it assumes the silhouette of something more hazardous. By extending certain arms while concealing others and altering swimming style, it can resemble a lionfish with extended fins, a sea snake undulating through water, or a flatfish resting venomously on the bottom. Each projection taps into the rival's learned aversions. Predators and competitors make rapid decisions based on templates stored in their nervous systems. A banded sea snake with its venomous bite and sinuous movement represents risk. A lionfish, with spines and aposematic coloration, signals pain upon contact. When the mimic octopus adopts these forms, it hijacks recognition circuits in other animals. The rival's hesitation becomes the octopus's advantage. Combat is delayed or abandoned entirely because the identity of the opponent has shifted in the rival's perception. This instability reshapes territory. In shallow lagoons, den sites are scarce and often temporary. The mimic octopus may use abandoned burrows or shallow depressions as temporary shelter, but does not rely heavily on fixed architecture. Instead, its mobility and deceptive projection allow it to operate in open substrate more freely than other octopuses. A rival that believes it is confronting a venomous fish may yield ground preemptively, ceding access to feeding patches without physical contact. The mimic's locomotion plays a critical role in these transformations. By lifting its mantle and spreading arms evenly, it can create the illusion of a disc-shaped ray or flat fish. By aligning arms in pairs and moving with coordinated undulations, it mimics the locomotor rhythm of a sea snake. These movements are not random imitations. They are behaviorally tuned to match the hydrodynamic signatures of the species being mimicked. Water displacement patterns influence how predators perceive threat. The mimic octopus adapts not only its outline but its movement physics. Thermoregulation in these shallow systems presents additional challenges. Water temperature fluctuates rapidly with sun exposure and tidal cycles. As an ectotherm, the mimic octopus must manage metabolic demand carefully. During hotter periods, it may reduce activity and remain partially buried in sediment, blending into the substrate. At cooler dawn or dusk intervals, feeding activity intensifies. Rivalry often peaks during these transitional windows when prey are active and competitors converge. The cognitive component of mimicry adds depth to rivalry. Octopuses are known for problem-solving abilities and learning through observation. The mimic octopus extends this intelligence into social deception. If a particular projection successfully deters a species of competitor, the behavior may be repeated in similar contexts. The selection of which species to imitate is not arbitrary, but context-dependent. In areas with high densities of sea snakes, mimicking a snake may be effective. In zones where lionfish dominate and are avoided by others, adopting their posture may yield better results. Identity becomes situational strategy. Predator-prey interactions further illustrate this tactical flexibility. When stalking small fish in shallow water, the mimic octopus may assume a more subdued coloration and posture, reducing visibility. Once a rival predator enters the same patch, it can switch abruptly to a bold striped display, transforming from hunter to hazard in a heartbeat. The rival, recalibrating its risk assessment, may retreat. The prey, momentarily confused by the shift in silhouette, may hesitate long enough for the octopus to secure a meal. The energetic cost of such transformations is significant. Rapid neural control of chromatophores and muscular adjustments require coordination and metabolic investment. Yet compared to the cost of physical combat, these expenditures are minor. Avoiding injury preserves future feeding potential and reproductive success. In evolutionary terms, individuals capable of convincing deception would have secured more territory with fewer wounds. Mating rivalry introduces additional complexity. Males may approach females cautiously, altering coloration to signal non-threatening intent. In environments where predatory pressure is high, these displays must balance communication with concealment. Rival males might attempt to intercept a mating opportunity. In such cases, the mimic octopus could project a more intimidating form to deter interference, blending reproductive competition with deceptive defense. The mudflat ecosystem itself reinforces the value of mimicry. Visibility is often compromised by suspended sediment, and many inhabitants rely on pattern recognition at close range. Quick judgments prevent unnecessary injury. A fish that mistakes a harmless octopus for a venomous species may waste an opportunity, but the cost of the error is minimal compared to the cost of mistaking a venomous animal for harmless prey. The mimic exploits this asymmetry in risk calculation. One of the more subtle aspects of mimicry lies in its impact on ecosystem perception. When multiple species share similar warning patterns, predators may develop generalized avoidance behaviors. The mimic octopus inserts itself into this network of learned associations, benefiting from the reputation of others without investing in venom or spines of its own. This phenomenon illustrates a form of Bayesian mimicry, where a harmless species imitates a harmful one to deter predators. In rivalry, this translates into borrowed dominance. As the tide begins to rise and water deepens over the mudflat, currents strengthen slightly. A small predatory fish patrols the area, scanning for movement. The mimic octopus, partially buried moments earlier, lifts its body and extends two arms in elongated arcs while flattening the rest against the substrate. Stripes intensify across its skin and its motion becomes serpentine. The fish slows, then veers away, interpreting the silhouette as something dangerous. Within seconds, the octopus collapses back into mottled sand tones and resumes hunting for shrimp disturbed by the current. Ocean combat here is not a clash of teeth or speed. It is a contest over perception. The mimic octopus weaponizes ambiguity, turning identity into a fluid tool that destabilizes the assumptions of rivals. In a landscape where decisions are made in fractions of a second based on visual cues, the animal that can redefine itself holds extraordinary leverage. Rivalry becomes a game of misinformation played in shallow water and shifting light. The deadliest confrontation is the one that never fully materializes because one participant no longer knows what it is facing. The reef slope rises in uneven terraces of coral and rock, each surface layered with life that competes not through pursuit, but through occupation. Between the branching corals and massive boulder forms, patches of soft tissue pulse gently in the current, their tentacles extended like a forest of translucent fingers. At first glance, a sea anemone appears passive, rooted to a single point and dependent on water movement to bring sustenance within reach. Yet within the stillness lies a border system as deliberate as any patrolled territory. The tentacles do not simply wave, they define perimeter. A sea anemone is a cnidarian, related to corals and jellyfish, composed of a central column anchored to rock and crowned with a ring of tentacles surrounding a mouth that doubles as an entryway to its gastrovascular cavity. Each tentacle is armed with nematocysts, microscopic capsules that fire harpoon-like threads tipped with venom when triggered by contact. The discharge is among the fastest cellular processes in the animal kingdom, propelled by osmotic pressure and mechanical tension. To a small fish or crustacean, the contact is immediate and decisive. To larger organisms, it is a boundary marked by pain. Territory for an anemone is measured in radius. The circle defined by its tentacles becomes a defended zone, where other sessile organisms hesitate to encroach. Coral polyps competing for light and substrate must avoid direct contact or risk tissue damage. Neighboring anemones of different genetic lineages may engage in slow-motion warfare, extending specialized tentacles known as acrorrhagi that deliver concentrated nematocyst volleys to adjacent rivals. The battle unfolds over hours or days, invisible to casual observers but relentless in outcome. The one that withstands repeated chemical assault maintains its hold on the rock. In reef ecology, space is currency. Hard substrate is limited, and organisms that attach permanently must negotiate for it through chemical and physical means. The anemone's ability to sting creates a buffer zone that deters both competitors and predators. However, this buffer is not absolute. Certain species, most famously clownfish, have evolved resistance to the venom, coating themselves in mucus that prevents nematocyst discharge. The relationship is mutualistic. The fish gain protection from predators within the anemone's tentacles, and the anemone benefits from improved water circulation and nutrient input from fish waste. Together, they form a defended stronghold. Rivalry intensifies at the edges of these alliances. A clownfish pair defending a host anemone will chase away intruding fish, reinforcing the chemical perimeter with behavioral aggression. The anemone itself remains anchored, yet its territory becomes animated through partnership. Competitors seeking similar refuge must locate unoccupied hosts or risk confrontation with established residents. The battle is over access to the stinging fortress and the safety it confers. The venom composition of sea anemones varies among species, containing peptides and proteins that target ion channels in nerve and muscle cells. This biochemical arsenal allows anemones to subdue prey and deter encroachment simultaneously. Unlike predators that expend energy in pursuit, the anemone invests in maintaining its tentacular array, relying on water currents to deliver both prey and rivals into range. In areas where currents shift seasonally, tentacle extension patterns may adjust to optimize interception, subtly reshaping the defended zone. Thermoregulation for anemones is largely passive, yet their symbiotic relationships with photosynthetic algae influence energy balance. Many tropical anemones host zooxanthellae within their tissues, benefiting from sugars produced through photosynthesis. In return, the algae gain protection and access to waste nutrients. This partnership enhances resilience in nutrient-poor waters, but also ties survival to light availability and temperature stability. During periods of thermal stress, bleaching can occur, expelling algae and weakening the anemone. Rivalry for space may intensify as stressed individuals lose competitive edge. The slow pace of anemone movement belies their capacity for strategic relocation. Although generally sessile, anemones can detach and glide short distances if conditions deteriorate. This mobility allows them to seek improved light or escape persistent aggression from neighboring organisms. The journey is measured in centimeters, yet it represents a calculated decision in a crowded reef matrix. Upon settling, the anemone re-establishes its perimeter, tentacles unfurling to stake claim anew. Interactions with other reef inhabitants reveal the layered nature of this chemical warfare. Some shrimp species live among anemone tentacles, gaining protection while cleaning debris from the host surface. Crabs may attempt to approach, probing tentacles cautiously before retreating. Fish, unfamiliar with the stinging perimeter, quickly learn through painful contact. Over time, species assemblages around an anemone reflect the boundaries it enforces. Competition between anemones themselves can escalate through gradual overgrowth. When two individuals meet, their tentacles intertwine, and nematocysts discharge repeatedly along contact points. Tissue damage accumulates. In some cases, one anemone may physically crawl away to avoid sustained injury. In others, the conflict results in partial retraction and eventual death of one competitor. The struggle is chemical rather than kinetic, yet the outcome is as definitive as any bite. Predator-prey dynamics further illustrate the anemone's influence. Small fish dart among tentacles to escape pursuing predators, sometimes grazing close enough to trigger discharge. Larger fish that learn to avoid these zones may alter foraging routes, indirectly shaping grazing patterns across the reef. By excluding certain herbivores, anemones can influence algal growth and microhabitat composition. Their stationary presence exerts ripple effects. Seasonal shifts in plankton availability alter feeding success. During plankton blooms, anemones capture abundant prey, increasing growth and reproductive output. Many reproduce asexually through fission, splitting into genetically identical clones that expand territorial coverage. In densely populated areas, clone groups may form contiguous fields that exclude other sessile organisms entirely. Rivalry then becomes collective, with multiple individuals presenting a unified stinging front. The irony of rooted warfare lies in its quiet persistence. There is no chase, no collision of massive bodies, yet the chemical exchange at tentacle tips defines boundaries with precision. As currents sweep across the reef, tentacles sway outward, each armed with microscopic harpoons poised to fire. A grazing fish brushes too close and jerks back in sudden reflex. A neighboring coral polyp extends tentacles of its own, testing overlap. The reef surface becomes a map of invisible front lines. In the filtered light beneath a coral overhang, a sea anemone spreads its tentacles wide, hosting a pair of clownfish that dart in coordinated arcs. The fish venture outward to feed and return to the protective embrace, reinforcing the anemone's defended zone through vigilance. Nearby, another anemone extends a crahagi toward a rival creeping closer along the rock. Contact occurs slowly, tentacle to tentacle, venom to tissue. There is no spectacle, only persistence. Ocean combat here is chemical and territorial, rather than cinematic in the usual sense. The sea anemone demonstrates that warfare in marine ecosystems need not involve speed or teeth to be decisive. By anchoring itself and arming its perimeter with venom, it commands space in a crowded reef. Allies transform it into a fortress, while rivals test its boundaries cautiously. In the ocean, even organisms rooted to stone participate in the struggle for territory. The battlefield may be silent, but its lines are real, etched in tissue and toxin across the living architecture of the reef. The open water beyond the reef shelf appears empty at first glance, a vast expanse of blue broken only by the rise and fall of surface swells. Yet beneath that surface, currents braid through one another, carrying scent, sound, and schools of fish that shift like living clouds. Sardines condense into tight formations when shadowed from below. Mackerel surge in coordinated arcs to avoid larger predators. The ocean here is not structured by rock and crevice, but by movement itself. It is in this fluid architecture that dolphins operate, not as solitary hunters, but as coordinated units that transform mobility into territorial pressure. A pod of dolphins moves just below the surface, their dorsal fins slicing briefly through light before vanishing again. Their bodies are streamlined, built for sustained speed rather than explosive ambush. A thick layer of blubber insulates against temperature fluctuations and serves as energy reserve for extended chases. Unlike most fish, dolphins are endothermic mammals, maintaining a stable internal temperature through metabolic heat. This thermoregulation enables prolonged activity in cooler waters where ectothermic predators might slow. In contested zones where endurance matters, this physiological trait confers advantage. The most significant adaptation, however, lies not in muscle or blubber, but in cognition and communication. Dolphins use echolocation clicks to generate detailed acoustic images of their surroundings, mapping prey density and rival positions in 3 dimensions. Whistles and pulsed calls maintain coordination within the pod. Each individual does not merely react to immediate stimulus, it responds to shared information. When rivalry unfolds, it does so collectively. Territorial conflict among dolphins often centers on access to prey-rich corridors or breeding grounds. Coastal inlets, estuaries, and offshore banks can concentrate fish schools seasonally. When 2 pods overlap in such zones, interactions escalate beyond simple avoidance. One pod may begin by shadowing another at a distance, maintaining acoustic contact while adjusting formation. If prey density is high, neither group withdraws easily. The contest shifts into active displacement. Unlike predators that rely on a decisive bite, dolphins employ sustained harassment. They accelerate in coordinated bursts, corralling rival individuals away from the core feeding area. Ramming behavior may occur, with dolphins striking rivals using their robust rostrum or flanks. The impact is not necessarily lethal, but disruptive, designed to unbalance and isolate. Repeated chases force the rival pod to expend energy that would otherwise be allocated to hunting. Psychological pressure becomes a component of this rivalry. Dolphins possess advanced social cognition, recognizing individual pod members and maintaining complex alliances. When confronted by a coordinated unit, a smaller or less cohesive group may experience internal disarray. Individuals attempting to forage are interrupted repeatedly, their echolocation disrupted by overlapping clicks and movement noise. Prey schools scatter under the chaos, and the rival pod's feeding efficiency declines. Over time, this sustained interference compels retreat. Predator-prey dynamics intertwine with these conflicts. Dolphins are capable of cooperative hunting strategies, such as herding fish into tight balls or driving them toward shallow water. In some coastal regions, they coordinate with seabirds or even human fishers, exploiting shared prey concentration. In rivalry scenarios, these same tactics can be turned against competing dolphins. A dominant pod may seize control of a herding formation, redirecting fish schools away from rivals. Reproductive rivalry intensifies these confrontations. Male alliances within pods compete for access to receptive females, sometimes engaging in prolonged pursuits of rival males. The strength of alliances influences success. Tightly bonded groups of males can exclude outsiders from mating opportunities. This internal social structure mirrors territorial enforcement at a larger scale. A rival pod attempting to intrude during breeding season faces not only feeding competition, but coordinated defense of reproductive rights. Dolphins' capacity for long-distance travel complicates territorial boundaries. Some populations exhibit site fidelity to specific coastal ranges, while others migrate seasonally following prey movements. In regions where migration routes intersect, encounters are more frequent. Acoustic signaling allows pods to assess rival size and cohesion before direct approach. If the opposing pod appears numerically superior or more cohesive, avoidance may occur. However, when numbers are comparable, confrontation is likely. The hydrodynamics of coordinated swimming amplify impact during harassment. Dolphins align in formation, reducing drag and conserving energy during prolonged chases. Individuals at the front may rotate back to rest, maintaining collective stamina. This relay-like strategy extends pursuit beyond the capacity of a solitary rival. In effect, the pod becomes a rotating force, able to sustain pressure longer than any individual competitor. Environmental variability influences the intensity of rivalry. During periods of prey abundance, overlapping pods may tolerate proximity, focusing on feeding rather than exclusion. When prey becomes scarce, territorial enforcement sharpens. Coastal bottlenecks, where fish aggregate due to tidal flows, become contested arenas. Dolphins may position themselves strategically at channel mouths, intercepting fish schools before they disperse. A rival pod attempting to enter the same corridor encounters a united front. The social bonds that underpin these campaigns are reinforced through tactile contact and vocal exchange. Dolphins rub flanks, leap synchronously, and emit coordinated whistles that strengthen alliance cohesion. These behaviors are not ornamental. They maintain the trust required for cooperative defense. In the absence of such cohesion, harassment strategies would fragment. There are documented cases of dolphins engaging in lethal aggression against porpoises or smaller cetaceans, behavior that appears not solely predatory, but territorial. Such acts demonstrate that sustained harassment can escalate into fatal violence when exclusion fails. However, even without lethal outcome, the cumulative cost of repeated ramming and chase often compels withdrawal. Thermoregulation and respiration intersect with rivalry in subtle ways. As air-breathing mammals, dolphins must surface regularly to inhale. In a confrontation, coordinated surfacing patterns ensure that individuals do not become separated from the group. A rival pod attempting to isolate a single dolphin may disrupt this rhythm, forcing it into vulnerable positioning. Mastery of timing at the surface becomes as critical as underwater maneuvering. As late afternoon light slants across the sea, two pods converge near a sandbank where mullet gather on the ebb tide. The first pod forms a semicircle, driving fish towards shallower water. The second approaches from offshore, whistles overlapping in a rising cascade. The air above fills briefly with the explosive sound of synchronized exhalations. Beneath the surface, bodies accelerate. Ramming strikes occur in quick succession, not to kill but to destabilize. The mullets scatter, then regroup within the arc controlled by the dominant pod. The challengers attempt re-entry, but repeated charges push them outward beyond the feeding lane. The confrontation extends for long minutes, each surge followed by recalibration. Eventually, the smaller pod reduces its advances, conserving energy. The dominant group resumes coordinated herding, reclaiming the prey corridor. No blood marks the water, yet the outcome is decisive. Territory is not seized in a single dramatic blow, but maintained through collective persistence. Ocean combat in this context is campaign rather than clash. Dolphins transform cooperation into strategic enforcement, using endurance, coordination, and intelligence to pressure rivals into yielding space. The power lies not in a singular moment of impact, but in sustained disruption that erodes the opponent's capacity to compete. As the sun dips below the horizon and the victorious pod continues its patrol, the water returns to apparent calm. Yet beneath that calm lies an unspoken rule. In contested seas, the group that moves as one can turn even open water into defended ground.